Maverick News, the antivirus program for your mind. And now, the Freedom Reporters.
Good evening, Maverick family. I'm Rick Walker. This is the Maverick News Channel. You're watching the Freedom Reporters. My co-host, Brendan Kennedy, should be along shortly. He's having a little trouble connecting this evening. He's having some internet issues, but he's getting those straightened out and should join us in short order. In fact, I think he is back right now. And there's the man himself, the one, the only, Mr.
Brendan Kennedy. I'm over here. Happy, what is it, Monday? Happy Monday, everybody. It's great to be back. How are you today, Rick?
I'm pretty good. Hanging in there. Lots of weirdness in the world to talk about today. Some pretty, it's been a fairly active news day. So,
yeah, I would say. Say quite surprising things happening, actually.
Yeah, so what are we going to talk about tonight? We've got, oh boy, Elon Musk buying Twitter. Now, that's a big development, and that's giving new hope to people who hope that free speech can be restored to social media platforms, or at least maybe not restored, but introduced, maybe. Minimize the censorship. So we'll see how that all goes. We'll talk a little bit about that tonight. And we also have a special guest joining us at some point during the broadcast tonight. Spencer Ford, new Blue candidate from the Durham region in Ontario, will be joining us. And a very unexpected development and very unusual development, I would say, with the Ontario Party, as they announced that Roger Stone has been hired or has joined the party as a political strategist, a senior strategist. Roger Stone, of course, is a prominent U.S. conservative political figure who has served in the past, as I recall, with the presidents Nixon, Reagan, and Trump in one capacity or another. What else do we have to talk about tonight, Brendan?
We see members of the media and the medical community continuing to try and wedge a divide between people who have the Fauci ouchie and people who do not have the Fauci ouchie. So we're going to talk about that. There's some interesting revelations that we'll be able to give you, and we'll show you how to kind of decipher this information. And that
because of the study that was released today surrounding the V thing.
Yes, the Fauci ouchie.
Yeah. So we have to be careful what we say and how we say it. But the one thing I will promise you is we will not change the meaning of what we say. You may have to read between the lines a little bit, but we'll get the message out to you.
Yes. Very important to look at. Also, further developments, Canada has appointed a judge to assess and examine the use of the Emergencies Act in Canada. It's looking like it's already a bad idea, so we're gonna talk about that a little bit as well, and why it should concern you. Because at the end of the day, it's not going to come to any type of real conclusions, but it's just going to be used to further bury our fundamental rights and freedoms.
Yeah. So an inquiry into the use of the Emergencies Act to bust up the Freedom Convoy that was in Ottawa. So I have some pretty major concerns surrounding that. I'm not sure that that's going to go the way I think I know how that's going to go, and I'm not optimistic. In fact, I'm pretty pessimistic about the whole damn thing.
Very much.
So, and I see there are people in here already making comments about Rolling Thunder and a couple of comments about my rant last night. So, wasn't on the agenda, but if people want me to comment or further explain my position on it, I'd be happy to do so. I'll leave that up to the viewers. You can let us know during the broadcast when we get into that area if you want to talk about it. But I stand by what I said. Maybe some people don't understand why I said what I said, or understand why I said it the way that I said it, but I'm happy to explain. So, KO Hug says that they forgive me. Well, thank you. I wasn't really looking for forgiveness because I'm not apologizing, not at this point, but we'll see. Anyway, what do you want to start with tonight? You want to start with Mr. Musk?
Let's
Brendan?
start with Mr. Musk. Let's do that. That's the breaking story of the day. And I think that there's a lot of different nuance and conversation that we need to have about this, because even at the beginning of the broadcast, we already had all kinds of comments in there. Some people don't like Musk. Some people think that I'm not the Antichrist, but he is.
Mm-hmm.
So, for those of you who did not see that show, Rick Walker did call me the Antichrist.
And in a complimentary sort of way, Brendan. It was, So what's he getting Twitter for? 44 billion, just a little pocket change for Mr. Musk.
Just a little bit of pocket change. There's not going to be any sweat off of his nose. Let's just take a look at some of the facts. Elon Musk has an agreement to acquire Twitter for about $44 billion.
That's with a B.
With a B. Billions and billions. Elon Musk reached an agreement to buy Twitter for roughly $44 billion on Monday, promising a more lenient touch to policing content on social media platforms, where he, the world's richest person, promotes his interests, attacks critics, and opines on a wide range of issues to more than 83 million followers. And it goes on and on and on. But yeah, a lot of this is just going to be interjected opinion. Shares of Twitter Inc. rose more than 5% Monday to $51.70 per share on April 14th. Musk announced an offer to buy Twitter for $54.20 per share. Well, the stock is up.
Hey, Brendan, maybe we should pull back here because our guest has actually arrived in the back room. So, folks, if it's okay with you, Brendan, maybe we can bring Spencer Ford in with us now, and we can come back to Mr. Musk later in the broadcast. Would that be okay?
It's your call. You're the boss.
Yeah, let's do that. We don't want to keep him waiting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's say hello to Mr. Ford and pull down the article there. Spencer Ford, welcome to the Maverick News Channel. Thank you for joining us tonight on the broadcast.
Well, thank you for having me, Rick and Brendan. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you, gentlemen.
So, Spencer, you're the new Blue Party candidate in the upcoming Ontario provincial election in the riding of, what is the exact name of the riding? Durham? There's more than that.
Sorry, it's the riding of Durham, yeah.
Okay, just the riding of Durham. I thought there was another add-on to that, but too many ridings for me to memorize them all.
For sure.
So we're excited to have you on the program. That the new Blue Party has, I think, done a lot to get organized and is probably among the new parties the most organized at this point.
I agree 100%. They're very well organized. I had a great conference a few weeks ago, and they prepped all their candidates very well.
And tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your background, and how did you get involved with the new Blue Party as a candidate?
Well, basically my background is right out of high school at 18 years old. I joined the infantry in the 3rd Battalion, the Royal Canadian Regiment in Canada. And I served overseas in Germany with that regiment for 4 years in 1988 to 1992. So I was there when the wall came down. And my specific job over there at that time, believe it or not, was intelligence within the battalion. So I would collate, evaluate, disseminate information for the commanding officer. and it was against the USSR at that time, being part of NATO. And then we came back to Canada, and I served overseas a tour of with the United Nations peacekeeping in Yugoslavia in 94, 95 during that war. And after that, when I came back to Canada, I decided I was having a family at that time. So I decided to switch to the military police. It was more grounded and go to Canadian Forces bases across Canada. And I went out west to CFB Esquimalt, and I was at the naval base. I was a military police there for 4 years. And then I switched and went civilian police and got hired onto Toronto Police Service from Victoria, BC, and moved my family out here. And I did 5 years in Toronto Police, and I was living in Durham at that time, so I decided to switch to the Durham Regional Police. And I finished off my career here in 2017 with Durham Regional Police. And at that time, too, I also had started my own business. So I had a landscaping business while I was a police officer, and I just transitioned right into that business after I finished my career.
Well, I thank you for your service. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You've been around. That's definite.
Yeah.
So what was it that attracted you to the New Blue Party? And obviously it must have been issues, and I would think, like everybody else, issues surrounding civil liberties and freedom.
Absolutely. So based on what I just told you about my personality and who I am, obviously I swore an oath to defend this country from both foreign and domestic enemies when I was in the military. And then I swore an oath to uphold the Constitution, Charter rights and freedoms, and to execute my duties as a police officer without bias. And so that is my core values. And with everything that was been going on, I felt it was really important that everybody can talk about things. Everybody does talk about stuff, but to take action instead of words, I think that speaks volumes. So I decided to look at the political parties, and I wasn't happy with the legacy parties. Obviously, what they're doing, they just seem to all follow the same agenda, and it's not in the best interests of the citizens, for sure. And all the people that I speak to, they're very concerned about what the mainstream parties are doing to this country and its citizens and their economics and so on and so forth. I think most people that have been watching what's going on are concerned, and they should be. So at that point, I decided to look into running to be a member of Parliament. And while I was doing that, I come across the New Blue Party, and being a former police officer in intelligence, I did a little research on them, and I was very happy with Jim and Belinda and the party they've created for the people, to represent the people. There's integrity there. And, mainstream parties just don't seem to have any integrity anymore. And it really hits a core with me that you got to have integrity. You got to have honesty. We got to do what's right for the people. We got to listen to the people, and we got to speak for the people. And that's what interests me in this party. And they've been true to the course the whole time. Whatever they said, they stand behind it. There isn't any of that backdoor games. I scratch your back, you scratch my back. And that appeals to me because that's my core values. So that's what I'm going to do if I get elected. I will be representing the people. I will not sway for anybody for any reason. And I won't be enticed by lobbyists or anything else. I'll represent the people and the values of this party, my core values and the people's values.
So I have a question in regards to policing and faith in policing is kind of at an all-time low right now. What are some steps once you reach the Ontario legislature that you think could be taken that can help fix that?
Well, obviously, there's concerns about the rule of law and the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land, as it states right in it in Section 52, subsection 1. It's the supreme law of the land. So therefore, any laws that are being created by any government, whether it be municipal, provincial, or federal, must be in line with the Constitution. Now, I'm not a constitutional scholar. However, with my law background and policing background, it's very clear what that section states. And before we would proceed with any laws in government, I would expect them to be upholding the Constitution, as it is the highest law of the land. So therefore, we would we'd get bills that were passing that bar first before we move on to going to first, second, and third readings, etc. And I'm seeing, with Bill 100, for example, it's just not happening. There's some issues there that are constitutional issues, they're charter issues, and there's going to be problems with that. People have a right to protest, and as long as it's done peacefully, lawful assembly, it's all in there under Section 2, and we need to be abiding by those. And the government needs to be following those, and they need to be held accountable. Should I get elected? If I am not doing something right, I would hope that they would call me out on it. And if I am doing something wrong, I'd admit it, and I would own up to it, and I would change it. So this is where we're at. I think with the policing, it's a shame because it's a great profession. When I got into policing, it's a very highly held office. I felt very proud to be part of that, and I've just seen it deteriorate over the last few years, and it's concerning, right? Mm-hmm. The police have sworn oath to uphold the Constitution and the Charter, and I don't know, I'd be in a very hard situation now if I was still in the service and they asked me to go and do something with peaceful protesters. You got to look deep into your moral soul and figure out if this is right or if this is wrong. And in my opinion, it's wrong.
Can I ask you your view on this? Because this has been my assessment. As a reporter, a general assignment reporter for over 25 years, covered a lot with police and always got along great with them and had an excellent relationship. But just like you, I've witnessed what I think is a deterioration of policing in Ontario and the relationship that police have with the public. When I was working as a general assignment reporter covering police beat, there was always an approach that was community-based policing, right? Which I'm sure you're familiar with. But in recent years, it seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong or give me your assessment on this, there's been a shift away from community-focused policing toward progressive policing, which brings in things like an assumption that a police service is automatically systemically racist, and everything kind of flows from everything that police see, senior administrators right down to the officers in the field. Because of this philosophy, that's the lens they see everything through, and then you get what we got in Ottawa ultimately as a result. That's my assessment. I think that we're way off track because we've veered away from what worked so well in Canada for so long and was improving year over year for a long time and was always fostered great relationships between citizens and police. But we've gotten away from it, and look what's happened. Am I off track there in my view?
I think you're right on the money, Rick, honestly. It was a very big part of our job, community policing. It was always the core. And if you look at some of the police services, they're all different, but generally speaking, they have a core, message that they send out to the public. We work for the public, right? The chiefs of police are obviously picked by the Police Services Board, et cetera. But the main core values of a police service is to represent the community and protect the community and be involved in the community and work for the people, right? That's how we have a good lawful society. That's how we keep, criminals at bay, and good people. We assist, help with all kinds of stuff, right? Police are doing fundraising for sick kids, different things. We've always been involved in the community because in my own career, there have been a couple times where citizens have come in when I'm making an arrest and assist, or they stay there and they watch the whole event. They record it to protect the officer, right? Because they'll say that he did this or she did that. And we need the citizens to be involved like that. It's really important. And that means the police have to have the trust of the people in their community that they represent. Yeah, so I agree with you. I think the policies are getting, it just doesn't seem to be following true police core values these days. And I think there's a lot of pressure coming down on them. Let's be honest, the mainstream media has been detrimental to the police. You start talking about police defunding the police. Well, that's never good. If I told you your radio show is going to get defunded next week, that you'd be like, whoa, hey, this isn't really good. But the bottom line is all those things play a factor, right?
Right.
And it's not good. The media, the police have got to deal with a lot of things on the road at any given time. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of pressures. I get it. And then as far as the, racism, systemic racism in policing, I can be honest with you. It's a brotherhood. They call it the thin blue line for a reason, because there's only a few people that do that job that are willing to step up and do that job. And, I'd lay my life down for my brothers and sisters in policing. And I'm pretty sure most of them would have done the same for me. It's got to be that way, or else, you can't really do your job. So, yeah, there's never been in my career that I experienced racism in the police service. I didn't experience it out in the public. Now, I'm not saying that there's no bad apples in any job that, that can happen. But the bottom line is, my career, I didn't see it. I didn't feel it. And yet here we got it brought down on us from the higher powers, from the media. And it's just not true. And that plays on the officers for sure.
Yeah, it wouldn't be, well, I mean, recruitment with policing is like way down across the board. And that's unfortunate. It is disappointing what all that's happened. And I do hope it is something that gets fixed. I would like to change gears just a little bit and see if we could paint us a picture of what you're up against in this election. So I just did a small peek, and it looks like Doug Ford had also kicked out the current incumbent MPP, Lindsay Park, for misrepresenting so-called Fauci ouchie status, and is now an independent. Is she running again, or is the seat up for grabs? Like, what's happening? What's the story?
I don't believe she's running again. I did get a chance to sit down and have a meeting with her, actually. I called her up and I reached out to her, and she was accepting to have me come and sit down and talk to her.
So she was the incumbent, but she got turfed? Because I'm not familiar really with your local riding, but is that what's going on? Is that what happened in your riding?
She is the incumbent. She's an independent. It's much the same as kind of Belinda Carahalios, and Roman Baber, etc. So do go on. So she's not running. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't believe she's running. She's going to, step down at this time. And by the sounds of it, I mean, it's not that she may never run again, but she's just stepping down at this time. And I don't blame her. I mean, if I got elected in a party and I was representing that party and representing those constituents, and, there's something that breaches the charter as far as I'm concerned, and you're forced to do something you don't want to do for bodily autonomy. I mean, how can you be reprimanded by your party? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I've been a conservative for a long time, and I'm really disappointed with the PC party, both provincially and federally, and what they were always the opposition, or if they were leading, they lead with conservative values, right? And they were for the people. And I just don't see that anymore. And, you're kicking out a member of your caucus. This doesn't make sense to me. Mm-hmm. It almost seems like you don't have a say. If you're in the party, follow the party line, or see you later.
Can I get you to comment on the feud between the Ontario Party and the New Blue?
Well, I don't want to get into that, but I just think it's important that for the people out there that are trying to get their freedom back, they want to fight, they want to stand up, they want to say something, they want to be involved. I get that everywhere that I've been talking to people, and it's a consistent theme. And thank God we have that, because it's something we need. We need that movement. And I don't want to get into any kind of politics with regards to parties that form along that line, because quite frankly, I'm just not in a position to be making any decisions or judgments on that. I think that's really left to the leaders of the parties, because they're the ones that are,
they're the ones that are feuding.
well, I really don't have any insider information on it, honestly. I speak to Jim, and I've seen Derek speak, and I've never met him personally. I respect both men, and I respect their candidates. I've met some of their candidates and stuff, and it's always cordial. There is huge respect for both. I just want to do the best that I can do in my riding of Durham and represent the people, and that's what I'm going to do. So everybody has their choice, what they're going to vote, but I'm just going to go and talk to everybody and see what happens. Right? Sorry.
Is there an Ontario Party? You probably don't want to even mention it, but is there an Ontario Party candidate in your riding? Because I don't think they have nearly as many candidates lined up as the New Blue.
I don't think so at this time. I don't know what their plans are, but yes, we have 122 at this point for the New Blue Party. So we're almost a full slate, and they're working very hard on getting a full plate, and will represent the whole province very well in this election. Mm-hmm. So yeah, but I don't know if they have any plans or not, and I'm just going to focus on my campaign, obviously. And then I got to listen to the constituents, and we got to let them have a voice, and that's the biggest thing I can do.
I can understand that. So, let's talk about something that we could all agree on. What are your thoughts in regards to the NDP and the Liberal Party? So Del Duca and Andrea Horwath. So they're putting out some very awful policies there right now. Do you think that these are going to resonate with people, whether it's wanting to update the V-Pass and making it so that it takes 3 Vs to go into places, and bringing all that back, bringing back masking and all this other stuff? Do you think that's going to resonate well with people, or do you have any other thoughts?
I'm finding most of the people I'm speaking to, regardless of their party affiliation, they're seeing what's happening in this province and in this country. They really are. And a lot of people don't take the time to go out and talk. There's going to be people that have views on both sides or all 3 sides. But when you start taking away people's liberty and freedoms, it resonates with them. And, as we've seen with Bill 100, we see with Bill 67, right, in the schools. So people are going to have their views on this. But I really think that the conservatives are the people that are going to actually represent freedom in this whole movement. I mean, we got the liberals now talking about taking away handguns, right? Mm-hmm. Well, being a police officer, let's be honest, I've never dealt with one lawful handgun owner with a gun unlawfully. Not once in my whole career. The only people who ever had guns that I dealt with got them illegally. So if we're going to focus on crime and gun crime, then focus where it needs to be focused, and that is address the criminals, address the guns that are coming into this country illegal. And we never really seem to do that. We have large amounts of money spent on gun registries and this and buyback programs, right? Well, I think they're way off the mark on that. They need to be focused where the crime, where the criminals get the guns, etc. That's how you take it off the streets.
Can we get more comments on Bill 100? And I think it's particularly relevant to talk about that because we do have this Rolling Thunder biker thing going on next weekend in Ottawa, and it looks like the municipality of Ottawa and the police service up there are telling the bikers they can't come down into the downtown area now. I think you're probably familiar with what I'm talking about with that rally. Yep. Can I get you to comment on that and specifically on Bill 100 and what your views are on that?
Well, I think the bikers going to Ottawa, from what I understand, now I haven't spoken to any of the organizers. However, I have seen a video of one of them. They're planning to drive in there not occupy, right? They're going to drive in there, lay a wreath at the memorial, and drive out. And they had this mapped out with the Ottawa, the city, and they're just stopping that. Well, again, here we go. We're back to the constitutional right. You have a right for mobility in this country. You cannot take that mobility away from people. Everybody drives on the roads, and just because they're going to be a large organization of motorcycles coming through your city, does that give them the right to stop the people? Absolutely not. You know, that's an infringement on your charter rights and freedoms. So I don't know what the city's planning on doing. I don't know if they have any intelligence that something's planned for nefarious that we don't know about. But let's be honest, if they just want to drive through the city as an organized motorcycle group, then there's no problem with that, right?
Except that Bill 100 gives police unprecedented powers. It essentially gives them many of the powers, if not even all the powers, really, that were implemented and invoked by the Emergencies Act. It just does it at the provincial level. It basically strips people of their rights and gives police the power to confiscate vehicles, to make arrests on the spot, no due process, lay fines. You don't even have to commit a crime. They just have to think that you might commit a crime under that piece of legislation. So that's the problem right there.
And so I go back to section 52, subsection 1 of the Constitution, the supreme law of the land, that if there's any inconsistency with the law that's being created, which this Emergency Act is, it's being passed as a bill, it's going to become a law, then it's illegal. You know, it's of no force and effect. That's what it states in there, up to its inconsistency, which is a lot of it. There's a lot of the parts of that bill that are not following the supreme law of the land. So this is the kind of stuff that, you know, I hope that if I get into Queen's Park, that we can address. You know, there needs to be opposition to these type of bills, and people need to be represented by people that are come from the same community. That's what I'm not a career politician by any stretch of the imagination, right? So there's these games that they play and this backroom deals and all this stuff, and whatever their agendas are, I'm not part of that. I'm just coming into this because we have to right now. We have to stand up for people's rights and freedoms. So, but yeah, the Bill 100 is, you know, when you talk about an officer arresting without warrant and giving them those powers, let's just look at the criminal code, for example, right? People get away with murder because of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. So if an officer seizes a piece of property, you have to fill out what's called a Form 5.2 under the criminal code. That means you're telling a justice where that property is, why you seized it, and where it's being held, that it's evidence. And when it's finished with being part of evidence, it's either seized to the Crown or it's returned. So you're just going to, and a person could get off with murder because of that, right? Because of, you know, unlawful search and seizure under the Constitution, right? And here we're going to be able to take away people's vehicles for parking on the road or standing there in more than one person or two people. Yep. That now is considered a protest. Come on, like common sense prevails here. So if you're gonna,
but I'm not sure that it does, Spencer. In fact, I think that common sense has flown out the window a while ago. I'm really worried about it. I've been saying on the broadcast here that Canada's gone. I think we can get it back, but right now, Canada doesn't exist. And
I think we just found another campaign message I can put on my signs. Bring back common sense.
There you go.
How about that
one? There you go.
Yeah. But it's scary, isn't it? That
it is.
Think that in 2 years here, we've gotten to a point where we can't go downtown and protest, right? Unless you have a certain agenda and a certain message, then you can go protest, right?
That's
you have to wear masks, you know, everywhere. Unless you have a certain agenda, then you don't have to, right? Hockey game, whatever. The Super Bowl was 70,000 people. You know, it just doesn't, nothing's making sense. So are we following the science or we're not following the science? We need We need some consistency in our government. We need some integrity, and we need some common sense back there. We need people to represent the people, because the people are getting upset. And I know you guys see it, and I know I see it. A lot of other people see it. And you keep pushing Canadian citizens into these situations, you're going to have problems, right?
Eventually,
And I've served overseas in a war-torn country, and I can tell you right now, this is a big part of why I'm doing this. I do not want to see our country become to a point where things get violent, because there's no turning back once you unlock that. And we need to start listening to the people, the government. And that's exactly 100%. What I'll do. I'll listen to the people. I'll represent the people.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%.
So
I'll tell you though, I'm frustrated with the people as well, though, because, and we even saw it in France, right? Just with this election of Macron, he was just reelected. Marine Le Pen, I think it was like 53 or 58% to her 40 something percent. But what my point is, even though we're seeing our rights stripped away, we've had them stripped away, and the government's still squeezing people and has become very authoritarian.
Mm-hmm.
People turn around and they tend to vote for, as I say, brands.
Yeah.
And it's hard to cut through that. People are saying, well, we're going to vote out Doug Ford. So who are they going to vote for? Traditionally and out of habit, and also because I think people are so busy just living their lives day to day, they don't really know what the different parties truly stand for, because they don't have enough time, or they don't invest enough time to find out. So they're going to vote Liberal or NDP and really just end up with more of the same, instead of looking at new parties like the New Blue. So the question I have for you is, how do you cut through that? How do you, we saw it with the PPC in the last federal election. It was really, I think, the only true alternative to the legacy parties, including the Green Party.
Yeah.
And yet what was the percentage that the PPC ended up with federally last time, Brendan? It was like, what was it? 5% or something? 4.5%, 5%.
Yeah.
Something like that. Anyway, the New Blue, you guys have the same challenge in front of you. So what do you as a candidate, and what's the party doing to kind of cut through that?
Well, I think a lot of people are becoming more involved as it's going on. I really do. I think our key focus, and Jim brought this up very clearly in during our conferences, we need to get out there and let people know that the New Blue Party exists. It's a matter of awareness, first of all. And second of all, that we need to talk to everybody. We got to hit the boots on the ground. We got to talk to everybody. I'm a type of guy, I never asked for anybody to help me. I'm always the guy who grabs my truck. Here, I'll go and move whatever you got to get. That's who I am. I don't ask people for help. I'm asking people for help in my campaign. And we need a lot of people to talk to a lot of people. And I don't know if you're old enough to remember this, probably not you, Brendan, but the old Vidal Sassoon commercial, she told two friends, and so on and so on. Well, that's what we're looking at, because that's the only way we're going to spread the message. We got to get this out to people that there is an option, because like you said, Rick, there's people out there, I think, that are so frustrated. They're full of anxiety. They're full of fear. And they're like, here we go again. There's nothing's going to change what's happening. Why bother? We need to get them excited about the fact that we can change this. And that's what I'm working on. I'm really working on it. I'm meeting so many great people that they may even start the conversation with me that are, well, and they give that kind of hum and haw, but by the time you finish talking to them, they're like, yeah, we can do this. Let's do this. How can I help? So this is the thing, right? People got to have hope. I think we saw that happen this year in Ottawa. A lot of people got hope, and with hope, you can do amazing things. So we just need to get the message out. We need people to know that the New Blue will be there to represent them with honor, integrity, with what they need. The people need stuff right now, and we know that.
Well, I see it coming already, where people are going to be saying, well, don't split the vote. Just vote for Doug Ford again, or whatever they're going to say, right?
Yeah.
But the truth is, there is an alternative to what we've had. And if people vote the way they've always voted for, and in my view, any of the three legacy parties, you're going to end up with more of the same. Now, if that's what you like, if you like masks and being locked down and having people lose their jobs if they don't comply and
being lied to, oh, we're not going to have a V pass. Oh, actually, we're going to have a B pass. It's like,
not be allowed to vote.
It gets very confusing, doesn't it? And everybody just sort of backs away from it. You get information overload, right? Mm-hmm. You're getting this, then it's not. Well, who said that? When did they say that? I got a gentleman that's helping me on my campaign, and he had a great saying for this. He said, nothing changes if nothing changes. Ain't that the fact? Yeah. So if we want more of what we already got, then people,
well, I mean,
but if you're going to come out and vote, you gotta come out and have your say, and you gotta vote, right? So we got to get people out. There's a lot of people that don't vote. We always know this across the country, within the province. There's a huge portion of people that don't even get involved in politics, and I think the more that we crush this portion, like the federal government and their mandates and their policies, and they start crushing that group, I think you're going to find that they're going to push them out to vote, and they're not going to be pushing them out to vote for them. They're going to vote for change. And like you said in Paris, right? In France, people are fed up. He's in the polls. Macron's in the polls at 30% was the one I heard. And then he wins with double digits.
Yeah.
Well, no wonder they're upset. What's the chances he wins with double digits with a third of the vote?
I don't know.
So I don't know. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? That this is all happening around the world. It's happening in Canada, and now provincially it's happening here. We need to address this. We have PC conservatives, Doug Ford, bringing out Emergency Measures Act before even a Liberal does. And then the Liberal leader, the Trudeau Emergency Act, totally used unconstitutionally. Mm-hmm. And it'll come with time. It'll be proven. But, it has to be stopped. And I think the people are ready to stop it. I think we're going to see a huge flow here. If they can get the information out that there's another opportunity, another party in Ontario, because this is the ground movement. I think, even for the PPCs, you need to get your ground base in Ontario. It's one of the most important provinces in Canada if you're going to do a federal election. Then Quebec, these provinces need these parties there and have a good base before you go federally. The New Blue Party, we're starting out here. We are new. Jim and Belinda have done an amazing job. We get onto this province and we build from there. That's the idea.
Hey man, what is it? What have the people got to lose by voting for a new party? What have they got to lose? I would say nothing at this point.
Yeah,
because they've basically taken everything
hugely,
and everything to lose on the other parties, right?
Right.
And look at what we're losing. And honestly, I think in my heart of hearts tells me that if we don't change things in this election, I don't know if we're going to have a democratic election in 4 years from now. Mm. Look what's happened in 2 years. And I'm not kidding. I'm not just throwing that out there. I honestly believe that. And this is why I'm running as hard as I am. This is why I'm throwing myself into the fire. I didn't want to become a politician, but I have sworn to uphold this Constitution and defend this country. And I will continue to do that till my dying breath.
And we're seeing efforts again, as we do in every election, where the incumbent party and the Liberals, the NDP, they're all running around trying to outspend each other with taxpayers' money to buy votes. When we had Jim Carahalios on, his approach was a little bit different, and maybe you can speak to that as well. I said, "What are you going to buy everybody, Jim?" And right, what are you going to give me for free to get my vote? So I'll ask you the same thing.
I'm not going to promise any material items, but we can promise under their new blueprint that we're going to cut the HST by 3%. We're going to cut the provincial gas taxes. This is money that's going to go back into people's
Now,
pockets.
is that permanent gas tax reduction, or is it a 6-month rollback like Doug Ford talked about?
That's permanent. You can't. Hey, 6 months of dropping the gas tax just till I get all to vote for me. That sure sounds upfront and honest, doesn't it? If people don't see through that, I don't know what it'll take. But the bottom, and also giving you back your money for your val tags. Well, thank you very much, but I gave it to you in the first place, right? So you give me a check back for what I've already given you, and I paid tax on that. So the bottom line is that we need to get the money back into the people's hands. Every economist, any person knows that the strongest economies in the world are those that tax the people the least, and those that tax the most have the worst economies in the world. So, this country is a great country. Ontario is a great province. We got great potential, and we just need to bring it back out. We need to have people working. We don't want to be giving them some universal basic income. What is that going to do? Let's get a bunch of people out there that are sitting at home getting money, and then somebody like myself who has a business trying to hire an employee, and I'm going to pay him about $200 more a month than what he makes sitting at home. Well, now with the gas, that's a tank of gas that's done, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not worth it. Well, we cannot go down that road because we're going to lose productivity, we're going to lose ingenuity, we're going to lose a growing economy. That's what makes us grow. And they got to be working. We've got to teach our youth to work, right? The youth have got to get out there, learn skills, trades, work, not be given money at 19, 20 years old, right out of high school, giving them money to sit at home and do nothing. There's no incentive there, right? So these are just common sense things. We get back to common sense that just need to be addressed. And I think most people think that way.
So. Wow. I'm not sure. I hope so.
yeah, that's true.
I hope so. I really do. So when it comes to Durham and Toronto and area, it's almost like a foreign land for most of us here in Canada. What type of issues are the people in your riding talking about most on a day-to-day basis? Like, what are the types of things that concerns them?
Well, obviously, the mandates are one, and we're addressing that. Now, we're going to be talking to all different walks of life here, obviously, as we go door to door and different things. So you're going to have different views, right? Mm-hmm. I've had one couple that were very much seemed conservative when I was talking to them. But as soon as I brought up Bill 67, that was the end of that, right? Here you can have your information back. Like, they have a different view on that particular thing, but conservative views on other things. So, I think, though, the big thing is that you're hearing it everywhere is people who want their freedom back, at least the conservative voters. And let's be honest, I'm going to target my campaign for those voters who are most likely going to vote for conservative, right? I'm not running to be a liberal, never will. Not running to be an NDP, never will. Okay, these are my views, and I'm looking for those people. So, but what I'm hearing from them is very much what we've already been talking about on the show. They need the mandates have to be stopped. The vax passes, the digital ID is a concern, right? To get in to the World Economic Forum and all those things, right? We all know what's happening. It's out there. This is not a conspiracy theory. It's fact, and it is coming to this country, and the people are concerned about that. And then you see the agendas from like Doug Ford and what they're doing and the powers they're using and the overreach of government. And you get into that world global control of our sovereign nation. That's scary stuff, right? And it's not conspiracy theory as well. When we look at the WHO, and they've been in discussions twice already, they're going to take power over the world. And any pandemic, and they've changed what a pandemic is, the definition of a pandemic to fit their agenda, they'll be able to take over this country's sovereign nation because our prime minister signed on to it with 195 other countries, right? That's not what we voted him in to do. We don't give our country away to a globalist entity like the WHO. Right. So they'll trample all over our constitutional freedoms. So we've got the issue at home. We've got the issues with it going abroad. And it's not just here in Ontario. This is Canada and worldwide. Hence, what happened in France with their election. People are not happy.
Yeah.
And also what happened in Ottawa was a great eye-opener to the world. We saw the world stand up behind Canada. So, there's a lot of people out there. We got to lead. We got to lead again in Canada. I think if we get this province in the right direction, that will start to get Canada in the right direction, and we will lead on the world stage again because we got the movement going in the right direction.
Well, even a single voice in the legislature in Ontario would go a long way. People say, well, this party's new, and what are the chances of them forming the government? Well, I don't think that's really, the goal. I think people need to look at their local riding, look at their local candidates. And as I said, what have they got to lose at this point? But I'll tell you, you've got a lot to gain. Even if you have one voice in there fighting for freedom, it can make all the difference in the world.
And
could
and
you
the example
imagine
for that-
having an official opposition?
Mhm.
Like a real opposition? Like the
Right.
parties that aren't governing are supposed to be opposition. They're
Yeah.
all entangled together.
And
Same
that's
agendas.
that's the power Belinda Carahelios had regarding Bill 67, and that she was able to give her opposition to it and bring discussion and put the spotlight on it, and everybody had to listen to it. These are important things. I kind of have a huge problem. I've run into this in the last election quite heavily. People are too fixated on voting in and winning. I want to vote for the person who's going to win. This isn't the lottery.
Yeah.
This is an election. It's I don't care what type of dopamine hit you're going to get. Whatever guy you vote in is going to win. People have just got to stop thinking like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, things get addressed locally in your municipality, then in your community up through to the provincial level, right? You have to be involved, and you have to vote for the party as well as the person that you think is going to represent you the best, right? That's just and I think we get back to a lot of voters are disgruntled. They're just, they seem to be throwing their votes away. That's not true. It's not true. One vote could make the difference, right? One more candidate in Parliament can make a difference. Mm-hmm. So anybody who is fighting for freedom, wants their freedoms back, then they have an obligation as well, just like me, to step up to the plate and say, hey, I got to get all my friends out there. We're going to go pre-vote. We're going to talk about this to other friends. We're going to help move this movement in the right direction so we can get these people in have a voice in the government again, right? Because I know this conversation happens all over the place. People are like, every time I talk to people, well, the government just doesn't listen and they don't care about us. And then they tax us more, right? And they all complain the same thing. Well, then let's change that, right? Nothing changes if nothing changes. So we need to change it, right? So sorry, Rick, go ahead.
Spencer, how can people find out more about you? Do you have a website?
Yeah, I have. There's a website for the New Blue Durham candidate, and there's also my own site, Spencer Ford at New Blue, and I have a Facebook page as well, Spencer Ford at New Blue, and I've got a YouTube channel. So, social media is so important, as you guys know, and I really appreciate the opportunity to come on and speak with you. But I also have to hit the ground. You need to be boots on the ground, going door to door. So I do have even a YouTube channel for me, but I'll put on videos as I go. But I really just got to get out and talk to the people, right? How are you going to represent the people if you don't get out and talk to the people? Oh, wait a minute. Just ask the Liberal or ask an NDP or, go ask Trudeau if he's listened to the people lately. Not likely.
Right.
So, yeah, I just need to listen to the people and get out there and find out what the issues are locally and provincially, and then we can address those at a later date.
One of the issues that the Ontario Party highlighted was immigration, and they said, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like they're going to stop immigration in Ontario and bring it down to level. And it seemed really stupid to me because immigration is more of a national issue, although at the provincial level, you're going to have to deal with housing and the impact on the market and the way immigration has an impact in local communities with respect to the economy and infrastructure and schooling. So, but I just don't see how any party or any provincial government can really do much to control the flow of immigration when you don't get to dictate. I mean, you can put pressure on the federal government, I guess, to adopt a particular position or a number on immigration. But at the end of the day, you have to kind of accept whatever comes your way. So what's your view on that? Are you familiar with what they had posted about immigration from the Ontario Party? And
actually, I'm not aware of that. But for immigration, let's just understand that most immigration that comes to this country will go to a large city like Toronto, for example, within the province, or Montreal. But within Toronto, for example, it does affect our economies. It affects housing. It affects all those things that have to be addressed on a provincial level. I understand it is a federal issue that they'll bring in immigration at whatever level the party feels is necessary. But let's be honest, too, that the infrastructure has to be able to take it. The housing market has to be able to deal with it. The economy has to be able to sustain it. So I would think at the provincial level that you've got a pretty good argument to take up to the federal government that, we can't handle X number of people over this amount, right? So let's keep it within what we can deal with for housing, for economy, for business, for jobs, right?
And we're seeing here, like we've seen that the provincial government approved, and in York Region, I think it is, they approved this massive 40,000 unit condo complex. Here's a picture of what it's going to look like, a rendering. Right. And in my view, this is a response to the immigration crisis that the federal government has created. Yeah. The provincial government and municipalities are trying to respond because, as you said quite correctly, the bulk of the new Canadians arriving are going to go to major metropolitan centers like Toronto, York, Mississauga, Vancouver, wherever, right? Yeah. Montreal. And this is how we're responding. And I guess a lot of people are concerned that the surrounding area really won't be able to properly facilitate or support this huge influx of population. And you're seeing that they're going really high up with these towers to put a lot of people, condense the population in a very small area. This is going to change the entire neighborhood, the culture, the way that people access social services, schools, congestion on roads. You're going to need, probably fewer cars, more mass transit. This is a particular vision that obviously some people have, but I'm not sure that this is the healthiest way for people to live. What are your views?
No, I agree with you 100%. I think the terminology becomes smart cities. They're looking for smart cities, right? They'll be able to put everybody in a very small area, high density. You got high infrastructure. We're already talking about some of the metro links and that running out to certain areas, right? You've got the infrastructure to do that is huge. The cost is huge. And we have people right now, a lot of youth that are going to be living in their parents' house until they're 150 years old. Like, it's just incredible that we got in my house, for example, my daughter is 26. She's a nurse. and her fiance is a construction worker. They have good careers. Once upon a time, that would have been fantastic. They cannot get into a house in Durham region on that kind of a salary and income. So they have to rent, and they have to pay more rent than it would cost to buy a house. Mm-hmm. So when we have these issues with housing where there's people, 8, 10 people in a lineup to go and buy one house, we're going to build these massive structures like this. Is this going to solve the problem? I don't think so.
And to put this in perspective for people, I live in the city of Chatham, Ontario, Canada, right? And in the city proper here, we have about 50,000 people. That's in the entire city. Well, they're going to build a condo project with all these towers in a condensed area and basically put the population of a city the size of Chatham, Ontario, in that one little neighborhood. Yeah. Bam, like 40,000 people. This is the crisis that the federal government has created. And they're sort of downloading this they are downloading this issue onto the provinces. And then from there, it gets also from the federal government downloaded to the municipalities. That's why it's so important for people to get engaged in politics and realize that it's the closer you get to your local government, whether it's provincial or municipal, or even your local school board, these government bodies, these elected bodies, they have more of an impact on your life than even the federal government does, because you guys will be formulating the policies that allow you, give you the tools to deal with these issues for people, right?
I have to ask you something, Rick. Are these apartment complexes, are they going to be to purchase like a condo or just for rent only? Did it specify?
They've approved the zoning, from what I understand. Okay. And I think it's probably a mix, Brendan, of stuff that will rent, that they'll sell. And as we've seen from, through the decades with all of the increasingly left-wing politics that has played out in Canada since really the 60s, with that mindset, I guarantee you they're going to be looking at some geared to income, some higher end. They're going to mix it all up to have sort of an integrated community that complies with or integrates with their idea of what a utopian future city is supposed to be, or whatever it is, right? So even if you look around your neighborhoods here, you have, in one area sort of geared to income in townhouse type complexes. And then down the street, you have people who are buying homes at a higher price point. And they mix things together in this country, and they have really since the 60s at an increasing level. And I think that's what you're going to find here as well. It's just that here, this is unprecedented, because this is this is just the beginning. We're going to see more of this, because we're getting over 400 to 450,000 new people moving into the country every year. This is record levels of immigration. Never have we had this level of immigration before. And it looks like we're going to continue to have that. And with what's been going on in Ukraine, and they're saying we're going to take an unlimited number of immigrants from Ukraine, I wouldn't be surprised if we hit 500,000 this year. Maybe. Who the heck knows? I don't think the federal government knows, nor do I think they care. No. But they're gonna download it onto you, Spencer, if you get elected. So
they're gonna just keep bringing in people from all over the world. We're seeing it in the United States on their southern border. We're seeing it in Canada. We understand that there's people out there in the world that need help. We get it, but we have to take care of our country as well. We cannot neglect the people that are here, that built this country. When you're going to bring in that many immigrants, and if your infrastructure is not built prior to doing it, you're only going to cause all kinds of grief and problems for communities that they're going to come to, right? Yeah. And generally speaking, it's going to be a major city. So if you do this kind of planning, what about waste management? Mm-hmm. What about schooling? You got 50,000 people in a 2-block radius or 4-block radius. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's going to be issues with that.
including
Food,
crime, potentially crime and policing
crime.
issues,
Yeah.
as you know, right?
How do you feed 50,000 people in such a small area? Like,
Yeah.
how many grocery stores does it take to feed 50,000 people? So where are they going to be placed? How are people going to get their food? So, yeah, I think, it just seems like these plans of building these monstrosity of a smart city and bringing everybody into one area, there hasn't been the planning. These things should take 20, 40 years of planning before this happens. All of a sudden, it's like, boom, hey, we're going to start doing this now, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You look at a
To
city
deal
like
with
the
the world
one where I
issue.
live in, right? How long did it take to build this city?
Yeah.
Right? It's taken about 200 years,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
To build this place.
I'm pretty sure like the area that you're from, it was like 30 years ago, it was probably farmland or something.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's growing exponentially. We know there's growth.
Yeah.
It's good for the economy to be building houses. Obviously, the trades, right? Let's get the people going to school that can get an education in welding and plumbing and becoming electricians. We need those people. We need those skilled labor, and let's make it more affordable in school for them.
Well, I'm going to inject a little editorializing here, but what I see when I see that, I see a few things. I see a clean rendering that makes it look like a shining city on a hill within a city. So it's very utopian, but I also see danger because if they get it wrong, if they don't do it just right, and you get like crime problems or poverty or major social issues in an area like that, a condensed area, that whole place goes to hell.
Yeah.
And then you've got a real serious problem because now you've built a ghetto with 40,000 people, and all those bright, shiny buildings get covered in graffiti and broken window. Like that could happen too, right? So it could go either way.
Yeah.
And it has
But
happened.
they better darn well get it right, or the people living there right now and everybody that moves there, they're all going to have a big problem.
And
the other thing I see, I'm sorry, go ahead, Brendan, but I got one more point.
I really want to nail this point home because the left likes to take these types of talking points and likes to say, well, all these slurs that don't really apply to us because, I mean, we're all pretty like nice people. Like nobody here hates anybody. But what it is about is we can't bring people in to neglect them. We can't bring people in to neglect them. It's just as simple as that. It's not fair for me, you, or them. It needs to be done responsibly. And
it's like, where are the jobs? Okay, you're going to put 40,000 people in there. Where are they going to work? Is there industry there? No. Is it all white collar jobs? What are they going to do? Oh, they're all going to be on universal basic income. So now you got what? 40,000 people on welfare, essentially. What happens to communities where everybody's on welfare? It's not a pretty sight usually. Now, here's the other thing, Spencer, and maybe you want to comment, maybe you don't. I don't know. But when I see a big government funded, basically, or government incentivized community that's built up like that, I see a lot of potential for corruption.
Yeah.
Money going to here and approvals for that going over there to that guy's friend. And this politician lines that guy's pocket because they gave money over here for a campaign. And boy, I just see so much potential for abuse and corruption whenever something like this rolls out. And this is on a massive scale. Do you see that kind of danger as well?
No, absolutely. And we've seen it before and we'll see it again. Large government projects like this, there's been a lot of times where did the money go? It's over budget. It's going to cost $100 billion. Now it's going to cost $200 billion, right? The people aren't working. We don't have the economy to build these mega structures, right? Sorry about that. So, these are going to become extreme issues. You're absolutely right. What if it doesn't work? And what about the communities around that? Are we bringing all the people that come to this country into that only, or are we going to bring in some of the youth that are going to come and have to live in these places to find work? There's a lot of issues that have to be addressed. And I don't think these utopian cities being put together like that are a very good idea. And a good example, some of the best examples of that would be some of the major cities in the world, right? Where they have the high rises, they have the very high dense areas, they have high crime. And And it's really easy for those cities to have some major problems. Not
Yeah.
only crime and stuff like that, but transportation, food supply. The numbers go on and on. Sewage plants, sewage treatment. There's a lot of issues there. So,
and again, to put it in perspective for people, because of the level of immigration that we're seeing across Canada, we're going to need to build, just to accommodate the people from last year, we have to build 10 or 12 of these kinds of communities
yeah,
within communities in order to accommodate them. And we're going to have to build 10 or 12 more next year and 10 or 12 more the year after that, because that's the level of immigration that the government has committed itself to at the federal level. And as I say, they're downloading it all into provinces and municipalities. So if you get elected, best of luck to you.
yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think that has to be addressed with the federal government from the provincial, the leader of the provincial party, right? And we've seen with Doug Ford and we've seen with Trudeau, these, they'd probably just be hand in hand going, oh, this is a great deal. Let's just get this done. It's good for the province. It's good for, but it's not good for the people, right? And it's not what the people want. So immigration is a great thing. Immigrants built this country, right? It makes for multiculturalism, all those good things. But we can only have so much immigration at any given time. Yeah. Our economy, our infrastructure, and our housing, everything there's only so much we can bring in. So we have to be responsible. We have to be balanced. And if we open our borders up to everybody and we just start letting them come in, and then we try and build these mega cities to house them and stuff, it takes years. We're going to have a lot of problems before we get them situated. And is there going to be the work for them, to help build these massive structures, right?
And it needs to be the people on the left always love to use the word sustainable. But when it comes to this kind of stuff, it's always knee-jerk reaction with them, and it's always short-term thinking. There are always unintended consequences from their government programs, things that they don't foresee, all kinds of problems that are created by their programs, which they, so this kind of thing, all right, you built this mega city within a city, but is it sustainable? Are there jobs? Can the people live there for the next 50 or 100 years comfortably and prosperously? But I don't think they even think beyond, let's just get it built, put a bunch of people in there, problem solved. No, it's not that simple. I really don't believe it is. And that's why you're seeing the concerns from the local residents as well. And we've kind of gone down a side street here. I didn't really mean to drag you deeply into the information.
That's okay, Rick. But you know what? Just one more thing on that point. Let's be honest, that inflation rates are at all-time highs. Okay. We've got fiat money going out everywhere around the world and everything. And then we're going to bring in a bunch of immigrants to the country when we don't have a very good economy anymore, that's going to have inflation that is going through the roof. So we're going to have poor economy, economic, the stimulus in the economy is going to go way down. People aren't going to have the work that they had. It's just heading in the wrong direction. It's like, you imagine just spending your way out of debt, like for yourself, your own credit card, right? It's like, oh, okay, well, my credit card's almost maxed out. So let's just spend some more money and see if I can get some more credit cards because I need them to survive. And, the money that we're spending in this country, going overseas, et cetera, and then doing this to our economy, it absolutely can't work. It will fail.
They get it all backwards because we've heard, people may be familiar with the phrase supply side economics. With these left wing economic radicals, I would say, right? They get it backwards. If you want to build a sustainable community with a strong economy where there's lots of opportunities for the people who live there already and the new people who move to the community, you need to attract those people there with jobs, factories or office jobs or some sort of employment. And then people move into those areas because there's opportunity there. But what these guys do is they do it the other way. They put the people in and think that the jobs will follow. That's not the really the way that it works. And they say, well, look at all the buildings we're going to build. That will stimulate the economy. Yeah, for a year or two. And then what after that? You've got big challenges then.
Yeah. And we have people coming to this country. So in my own business, just this year, I was doing, it's a landscaping business. So I went and seen a customer there, and they're both new to the country 2 years ago, from East India. And one's a dentist, one's a doctor, and the dentist isn't working, hasn't been given his license since he got here for 2 years.
Right.
And his wife is a doctor, but she's working from home with a US based company, and they live in Canada. Right. And these are professional people that came to this country that could provide amazing services, and the red tape, to hold these professionals up. But then we'll bring in a bunch of people that aren't professional that are going to we're going to have to help out when they get here. And that's not a problem if it's small quantities. When we're talking 500,000 people coming to your country a year, it's going to absolutely crush us. So, I could take it off on a whole nother tangent there, but are we going to get to the point where we have, you'll own nothing and be happy? Right?
Yeah. Well, it looks like we're heading that way.
Right.
Yeah.
And people don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about it, but it's a truth and it's a fact. And just look at what's happening here, because how are you going to own anything? Right? The youth can't buy a house already. So we're going to put up all these massive structures. Everybody's going to lose their house with inflation rates going up through the roof. When you're talking a $1 million home, or you buy your first house for $650,000, you owe all that money on that place. Principal doesn't get knocked off for years. Interest rates creep up 0.25. Next thing you know, it's up 4%. Your $3,000 a month mortgage payment is now $12,000 a month. You're not going to be able to sustain your property, your house. Is that what those structures are for? Is that where people are going to go? Because the government's going to give you a place to live when you've lost your house, right? It's happening, and it's a scary future with inflation. The money being spent during a pandemic, we're throwing money around like crazy. It's being printed out of thin air. Our economy is going to collapse, and yet we're going to build superstructures for people to live in. I don't know. We're going to bring in the highest amount of immigration that we've had in this country, in the history of the country. It all makes no sense. It's going down a very bad path, and I think people are not stupid in this country, and the government doesn't seem to realize that they're onto this. They know what's going on, and I think we're going to see a massive swing, a massive movement here. And the least it's going to do is wake them all up, and they're going to give them a good head shake, right? Because the citizens have had enough. And like I said, that's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm running. We need to have the voice of reason in government. Listen to the people. Be fiscally responsible with the amount of money that you're making and bringing in, and what you're spending it on. How many immigrants you're going to bring into the country, and that they have an infrastructure place to go to. All these things are important, and a responsible government would be looking at all that and not just throwing it out there. Listen to whatever the federal government says, or whatever the World Economic Forum says is best for Canada, right? We need to look at what's best for the people in the province and address it here first, and then maybe it'll change what's coming in Canada as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brendan, other thoughts or questions on your end?
That whole apartment building thing, this would just be like my last thought would be like, it really smells like Nicolae Ceausescu's Romania. And if you don't know what that is, you're going to have to look it up. But it's not good.
No, it's not good. Yeah. No, I agree with you 100%, guys. And you know what? You have a great show here where you talk about all the issues. We need to have the media really covering these stories properly, the mainstream media, and we don't have that. because the people need to know what's going on. And they seem to be sliding a lot of stuff in through the back door. The deals are already made. The money's already passed hands. Who's getting the money? Have we ever followed the money? Do we really know where it goes? Do we know who's really funding these buildings? Is it really our government? Because we haven't even seen their budget for last year, right? And they just never want to talk about the budget. Well, based on my calculations, just for the federal government alone, I know we're focused on the provincial, but the federal government, if we spend $1 trillion with 38 million people, and we've spent $1 trillion since Trudeau's been in office, that's $48,500 a person. That's babies right now owe that kind of money on top of the taxes they're going to be paying. Now a carbon tax, now gas tax, right? So you'll own nothing and you'll be happy.
Well, here's a suggestion for you, and I'm not the one who came up with this first, of course, but even if you look at something like censorship and media funding, right, through the government, I would suggest that whatever Justin Trudeau is throwing around to pay off or buy votes or giving money to this corporation or to this media outlet, I would suggest at the provincial level you just tax it all back. Yeah, just tax it all back. If they're giving money to the CBC, then at the provincial level, impose some sort of a media tax to get the money back to the taxpayers at the provincial level.
Yep. I think Jim was talking about that on your show, if I'm not mistaken.
He was, yep.
Right?
Yep.
And we're going to defund the legacy media, right? And we're going to give a fair shake to all media organizations, which they're meant to be. Everybody's supposed to have a voice in this country, right?
Yeah.
We're going to censor. That's one of the biggest issues right now, I think, in the last 2 years is the censoring of information, right? We've gone down into a really bad place. And a lot of people, it causes a lot of fear and anxiety. If people just know what's happening and get the information, they can make an informed decision and they don't have to stress over the situation, right? But when you can't make an informed decision over something and it's being shoved down your throat, well, it creates fear and anxiety. Yeah. And I don't know if that's what they want, but it's not good.
Absolutely. People call it a positive feedback loop, but I call it a negative feedback loop where the government or the media scares the crap out of everything. I think I got this from Rick Walker. Actually, I don't remember.
Probably.
The media scares the crap out of everybody, and then the government runs polling data, and then they go with the polling data, and then so on and so forth. It's just a self-deprecating circle of, oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then people get so wound up in that they really don't know what's the truth and what's not the truth anymore. And, if you just give people the facts, they'll make their own decisions. They're educated, right? We all go to grade 12 high school at least. I mean, some of us can write essays and stuff, but you know what I mean? I'm just joking. But honestly, I think most of us can make an informed decision or consent if we're just provided the information, right? And that's what we're talking about. And that comes back to everything that the New Blue Party stands for. It's about choice, right? It's about information. It's about integrity, keeping all that on track. That's what we're looking for, right? Where we can represent the people, give them the information, defund the legacy media, right? Let the other media outlets have a say. We don't have to have one narrative. We can have two narratives. That's a healthy debate, is it not? Right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So as we kind of draw things to a conclusion here tonight with you, do you have any last words for the voters and maybe specifically for these bikers who apparently, in the face of this tyranny from the municipality and the Ottawa Police Service, they're still planning to go up there this coming weekend? As a former police officer and as a New Blue candidate, what would be your words of advice to those folks?
Well, my first words of advice would be to the mayor of the city of Ottawa would be to work with the biker organization and the leaders. And the main reason I would say that is for safety, right? Everything needs to be about safety when you have a large group of vehicles or motorcycles coming in. have a route, have a designated route. They go through that route around the cenotaph, lay the wreath, and they're out of there, right? And I think that's what was organized. And now the mayor of the city is not allowing that, or if they're going to shut roads down. Do they want chaos? Is that what they want to bring on? Because, you do only have so many police officers. Somebody's going to get hurt if you don't organize a large event, a large scale event like that in a major city like Ottawa. So what the mayor is doing is absolutely offside. I should be working with them. It's much like what happened earlier with the federal government, not coming out and talking to them. These people have been in conversation with the city, and now you're going to do this at the last minute. You're going to have problems, right? They're coming to your city anyways. So work with them. Make it peaceful. Make it safe. And then they'll be there and they'll be gone. It is, let's not forget, Ottawa is the capital city of this great nation, right? There's been a lot of people that have shed blood all around the world to defend freedom in this nation. And I've lost some of them myself. So I'm going to just say to the citizens out there and these people running these cities, let the people come to their capital city and let them come to their cenotaph and let them pay their respects to their fallen brethren, and you'll have no issues. The government and the mayors and these city councilors and whatnot need to start listening to the people. And that's what the new blue, here I'm going to finish this off, Rick. The new blue will bring it to you.
And there you have it. So again, one more time, how can people find out more about you and support you if they want to?
Well, we can go to the New Blue Ontario website, right to the main campaign website. And also I have my other websites, Spencer Ford, New Blue, the Durham candidate, New Blue, and there'll be videos coming out again. So, yeah, I think it's just basically word of mouth. We'll get some videos out there. We'll get people talking, and we'll build some momentum, and we'll make some changes that are much needed, as we know, in this country. And let's bring it back to the people, right? Let's listen to the people, because that is the biggest problem we have right now in government. They don't care about the people. They just want your money, right? And people are not dumb, and they want to be heard, and they will be heard. And if you don't listen to them, you're going to end up with some dire situations come down the road, and it may just start at the end of this month in Ottawa. So let's keep it safe. I hope they have a very safe event. I hope they can exercise their constitutional right to come to the capital of their city and pay respects. And if we can't let our people do that, then this country is in grave danger, I think, and we need to address it. So,
well, we really appreciate you joining us on the program. We wish you all the luck in the upcoming provincial election in June in Ontario. What happens here will have an impact not just provincially but across the country, because it does resonate and send shockwaves across the nation and even into the United States in many respects. So, we really do wish you all the success, because we are all about freedom here on the Maverick News Channel and the Maverick family, and we absolutely need change in this province of Ontario. And like I said before, what have people got to lose to vote different this time around?
I think that there's a lot of people out there who are willing to, Rick. I think we're going to see that this much like when they were done with the Kathleen Wynne government, right? It was a major sweep the other way. And, I'm just hoping that we get enough people aware and that sweep will happen, right? It's all about awareness. And you guys are doing a fantastic job with that. You really are. Your show is amazing. And we really appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk to you both.
Thank you very much, Spencer.
It's been our pleasure.
Getting you in there, maybe some other loud voices could go a long way. Even one voice,
That's
single
right.
voice calling for freedom can make all the difference. So
Sure can.
So there you go. Thank you. We'll be
Perfect.
in touch with you again and hopefully get you back on the program again before the people go to the polls.
That would be great. I love it. So thank you very much, Rick and Brendan, and you guys have a great night.
You
as
too.
well,
Take
sir.
care. And there you have it, folks. Spencer Ford from the riding of Durham in the province of Ontario, running for election with the New Blue Party of Ontario. A new party, well organized. They have almost a full slate of candidates right across the province, which is in itself impressive and shows that they do know how to organize things and run things. That is an important, I think, metric to take a look at when you're trying to decide who you're going to vote for. Same thing with the PPC. If they can put things together that quickly, get things that organized in a short period of time, then you know you're dealing with competent people. And the word, Brendan, that he brought up that I think is probably the most important word of the night, and that was the word integrity.
Yes, that's important. People, integrity is the difference between saying to the media that, oh, we're not going to have a V pass because we don't want to have a fractured society, and then days later turning around at a press conference and saying, well, my friends, we're going to introduce the V pass. So that's what integrity is, folks. You look at that, that is not integrity. That is bad. We can't have that anymore. I think enough politicians at this point are suffering for their lack of integrity and coming out with these false statements and then going back on them. People are getting upset because there's a very clear trend. And this isn't like television in the 90s where it was easy to forget about things that happened yesterday. Everything's on record now. And it can all be brought back, and it could all be researched. Even when I was researching to have the discussion with Jim Karahalios, the leader of the New Blue Party, that is not that far in history. But when you're researching it, pre-virus that shall not be named days, it feels like it's forever ago. You don't remember this stuff. But when you research it and you see the clear line of how things happen, man, it's not going to look good.
Yeah. Well, let's take a brief break. We'll explain to people how they can support what we're doing here. And when we come back, we'll get back into the Elon Musk purchase of Twitter.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program for your mind.
And you can support our work by donating at freedomreporters.com, or you can click on the hot links in the YouTube, Facebook, and Rumble descriptions. That'll take you straight to the donation page. We do need your help to keep the lights on here and continue to expand what we're doing. We're extremely grateful to everyone who has donated so far. The support has been actually quite good, and thank you. That's really all I can say is just thank you for your confidence and for putting your trust in us as we fight this information war and endeavor to bring you quality guests, just as we did with Spencer Ford, the New Blue candidate from the riding of Durham.
And you could also remember that if you're unable to help us out monetarily, you can also help us by smashing the thumbs up button, hitting the Rumble button if you're on there, and it does help us defeat the algorithm, so that does help a lot. Thank you so much. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do, and make sure you hit the bell so that you don't miss one of our shows and receive every notification.
And it's time now to move back, as Jen Psaki is fond of saying. Brendan, let's circle back.
Oh, gosh.
To the Elon Musk Twitter purchase story.
Dun, dun, dun. All right, let me get
because I know everyone wants to talk about that.
Well, I wanted to. I'm kind of interested in your perspective. We've talked about Mr. Elon Musk a few times. So the facts are plain. the arrangement has been made to acquire Twitter for $44 billion. It's going to be roughly $54.20 per share. There was some kind of scrapping that had happened previously about Twitter, and the Twitter board not wanting to let the deal go. And Elon Musk so far has been championing himself as a primary component of free speech. He's very excited about those sort of things. And so I'll just show you the statement that Elon gave, which I think is important. So Elon Musk posted this a few hours ago today. Free speech is the bedrock of a functioning democracy, and Twitter is the digital town square where matters vital to the future of humanity are debated, said Elon Musk. I also want to make Twitter better than ever by enhancing the product with new features, making the algorithm open source to increase trust, defeating the spam bots, and authenticating all humans. Twitter has tremendous potential. I look forward to working with the company and the community of users to unlock it. So there's going to be a couple of effects that are going to happen with this. It sounds to me like authenticating all of the humans. I'm not sure if that means it's going to replace the blue checkmark system, which I have a lot of problems with how the blue checkmark system operates, where it kind of gives you a false sense of trust with whoever is behind it. Not that I fall for that. In fact, me personally, whenever I do see a blue check mark anywhere, I am going to be more critical towards that person at the end of the day. There is quite a bit of people out there who also feel Elon Musk has some sort of nefarious underpurchases, or nefarious, what would be the word for it? Nefarious underlying things that he'll be bringing out. At the beginning of the broadcast, people have left in the comments things like Neuralinks and stuff like that. So in either case, though, for a short-term win here, I would at least say it's very possible we could have no more censorship with Twitter for the time being, or very limited or lack thereof. Who's to say, though, at this point? It's also been noted that Congress directs these social media giants, and we do know most of the times that's where they take their direction from. I'm not sure which way it's going to go at this point, though, but it seems to me for the short term, this is a win, because that's a lot of money to spend on a social media platform.
Do you think?
To say the least.
Do you think?
Yeah, think. Well, I got 44 billion just hanging out here. No.
It's a mind-boggling amount of money.
Yes. You wouldn't even be able to fathom how much money that is. I don't even think that much money.
I don't know,
fit.
Brendan. I can fathom quite a bit.
I don't think you could even fit that in my local bank vault, if you think about it. I was kind of interested in what your opinion is on this. While you were gone there for a few moments, I did just touch base on, the facts of what it sold for. We did cover that at the beginning, but
Yeah.
We showed off here this statement made by Elon Musk. He wants to authenticate all humans, get rid of spam bots, and bring new features and products to Twitter.
That phrase concerns me in itself. He wants to authenticate all humans.
Yeah.
We will authenticate you. This is also coming from the guy who is pioneering technology that will allow an interface between the human consciousness and a new digital reality. So he's in some respects a transhumanist who is anti-transhumanist. He's a perplexing figure, but continue, please.
Well, one of my other assessments of Elon Musk, it's my understanding that he talks about quite regularly well, not talked about, but he tends to go on Chinese social media and says one thing, and then he tends to go on our social media and says another thing, if that makes any sense to you.
I suppose it sort of does, because he has his political side, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, it's in his best interest to keep the CCP in China on his good side. But it is kind of weird in regards to the authenticating humans thing.
Yeah, he wants to authenticate all humans. Yeah, I understand what he's saying, but at the same time, just even the choice of phrase is a little bit unnerving for me, especially given his background and where we're going with transhumanism and the new world order. And oh man, yeah, what can end?
Well, speaking of the New World Order, we have one of the chief reptilians on screen here.
Yeah, well, this is White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki being asked about the Twitter purchase with Elon Musk. So let's just let this roll and find out what the White House perspective is on this.
On the breaking news, Twitter agreeing to let Elon Musk go through this purchase. Do you have a response to that? And does the White House have any concern that this new agreement might have President Trump back on the platform?
Well, I'm not going to comment on a specific transaction. What I can tell you as a general matter, no matter who owns or runs Twitter, the president has long been concerned about the power of large social media platforms, the power they have over our everyday lives, has long argued that tech platforms must be held accountable for the harms they cause. He's been a strong supporter of fundamental reforms to achieve that goal, including reforms to Section 230, enacting antitrust reforms, requiring more transparency, and more. And he's encouraged that there's bipartisan interest in Congress. In terms of what hypothetical policies might happen, I'm just not going to speak to that at this point in time.
You can just tell she's like raging on the inside about it.
Yeah, I think so.
And
As are most of the people on the, if you want to say, the left side of the political spectrum. They're all losing their minds.
well, all these people who said when Trump got elected that they were going to leave and move to Canada, these are probably the same people who are like, we're leaving Twitter.
And isn't it funny how the first thing that comes out of their mouth is, what if they let Trump back on Twitter?
Oh my God.
It's like they should. They never should have kicked him off to begin with.
No, they shouldn't. And I think I've seen some statements. I'm going to have to confirm it at a later time, but it looks like Trump might not come back because he's got Truth Social and he's trying to build that. But it's important to note, like, Twitter is already established, and we've talked about this before. It's difficult to get people to leave traditional spaces that are already well set up and are very user friendly and get them to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Here's some of there's a lot of reactions about Twitter, and hashtag leave Twitter is trending right now. And
that's because why? We have a lot of pro-censorship, pro-left-wing, pro-authoritarian fascist types who are saying they want to leave Twitter because there's just going to be way too much free speech once Elon Musk takes over.
That's exactly it. And
Some
some of these
they're
are
sick. They're sick people.
Some of these are actually kind of hilarious. It's like, don't let the door hit you in the behind on the way out, that sort of thing. But a lot of it is quite serious. People don't like, the left is really angered by this, and I kind of find that an interesting perspective from the group that really likes electric cars. That it's their favorite thing. You'd think that if they'd like electric cars, they'd like Elon Musk.
That is one of the reasons I think he's such an interesting public figure. It's because he is really difficult to pin down. Sometimes, for a long time, I never liked him at all. Him doing some other things, though, in the last few years have made him more palatable to me. But there are a lot of things surrounding this, his life, his story, the purchase of Twitter that to me defy logic, don't make sense. For instance, this is a guy who starts an electric car company that has struggled from the beginning, that really has never turned a profit. And yet he has wound up being one of the richest people in the entire world. This is a guy who has received billions upon billions upon billions. I mean, I can't even count how many billions of dollars in subsidies he has received. So his empire is really built on a foundation, a mountain of government grants and subsidies. Politicians love to give Elon Musk money to build factories, to build rockets, to build whatever he seems to want to build. And everything he touches seems to turn to gold eventually. And that's, again, because we're funding it. We funded all of it. I mean, I try to look up sometimes how much money has the government invested in Elon Musk projects, whether it's Tesla or SpaceX or whatever. And we know that Tesla and SpaceX have received at least over $5 billion just in subsidies alone. And then he comes out and he says he's not in favor of subsidies. He's kind of a really hard guy to pin down.
Yeah, he is. He is really hard to pin down.
And he reminds me in some ways of Howard Hughes, who was the, if you don't know who Howard Hughes was, he was an industrialist, a Hollywood mogul. He bought RKO. In his day, he made a movie called Hell's Angels, which was very successful, but also extremely expensive to produce. But his wealth originally came from his father, who, as I recall, invented a special drill bit for oil drilling rigs. And that made his father wealthy. Mm-hmm. And then he took that money, which he inherited, and went on to become even wealthier through the movies that he made, through other industrial projects, through Hughes Aerospace, through military contracts, through a lot of government-funded projects. Hughes, of course, wound up being kind of a hermit and an odd public figure. He ended up he bought up probably half of Las Vegas at one point. If you go to Vegas today, you'll find, roads named after him. I always found him to be an incredible public figure. And there's a movie about him called The Aviator, starring Leonardo DiCaprio. Great movie. Kind of tells the Howard Hughes story and how he went kind of crazy. I've mentioned him on the program before. Anyway, I see similarities between the two. Mm-hmm. But Musk is somewhat different because his entire empire, in my view, well, with the exception of, I guess, the money that he made with
PayPal, isn't it?
eBay, I believe.
eBay?
Might have been PayPal.
I mean, I'll just make sure that we have that. I'll fact check that.
Right. I mean, that's kind of how he got his first taste of really big money, right? But then Tesla, and then everything that's come after that. The government money that's been flowing into his companies has been, I think, going in at unprecedented levels. And that's why we get where we're at with him now. It's kind of weird how all this public money.
It was PayPal.
PayPal, yeah. And then he gets flooded with all these grants and subsidies, and now he has enough money to buy on his own Twitter at $44 billion. And people think that this is capitalism. They think that Elon Musk is some great free market entrepreneur. In reality, I would argue no. He's the product of a corporatocracy, an oligarchical, a system that supports oligarchs. How about that? He's the American equivalent, and he's not even American. He's from
he's South African.
South African.
Which I I guess a lot of people don't like it when they call him African. They don't like that.
But and his family seems kind of weird. Have you ever seen his mom? She
Yeah.
strikes me as very eccentric.
Mm-hmm. Well, so is him. I mean, so is Elon Musk. He has his own diagnoses, which I won't get into. You'll have to look into that yourself.
He has Asperger's, right?
Yeah, something or other.
Yeah, he has Asperger's.
Mhm.
Which generally, anyone with Asperger's tends to be very intelligent. Sometimes almost at a genius level, and quite often very good with numbers. And Musk has been very good with numbers and computers and computer programming. And the thing that I find really weird about him, though, is also, his foray into, as I said, transhumanism. He's conducting experiments right now, and he's had some success connecting the human mind to computers and a digital universe.
Via Neuralink, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I could see that technology and people being able to use it for nefarious purposes. I could see that for sure.
Uh-huh.
But I'm not sure if it's because Elon Musk has nefarious purposes. I don't know. I don't think anybody could say that. But like you said, it's very difficult to read the guy. Nobody can read him.
I don't think he's afraid of technology. That is certain.
That is
and
certain, yeah.
I think that he sees the dangers in a lot of it, but also realizes that whether he likes it or not, it's coming, so he's involved.
Mm-hmm.
That might be the best way to characterize where he's at with things. But of course, who knows what's really inside the mind of Elon Musk, because he's a perplexing public figure. The bottom line here right now, though, is people have new hope surrounding the restoration of free speech. And they're pointing to Elon Musk and giving him the credit. And I have to agree.
Yeah. Hey,
So-
if it pisses off the gender brigade, how bad could it be?
Well,
We'll have to wait and see.
yeah, we don't know. We don't know.
Yeah. I'm kind of interested in what other people's thoughts are on this, because people are kind of smack talking him a little bit. All right. So anybody, what are your thoughts on this story, everybody out there? Bring it out to us.
Bernadette says it's scary. Andre Morin says, not going to chip me.
Yeah.
You may not have a choice in the end. Otherwise, you might lose your job and not be able to get on a plane or a train.
You must come for your compulsory free upgrade.
Howe's 1960 says, Musk's grandfather ran the technocratic movement in Canada. Your world ran by unelected experts, old as new again. Yeah. Darcy says, our brains are being targeted, so we'll need the implants. It's interesting, this is probably a discussion for another night where we can get into transhumanism on a deeper level. But it's what Darcy is saying is true to a degree, because if people start getting jacked into the internet and they're able to process information in symbiosis with a new digital world via a neural link that Elon Musk creates, if you don't have it, how are you going to compete with some guy who's got some supercomputer brain who applies for a job and you don't have the Neuralink jack? And the guy offering you the job says, well, are you jacked in? No, I believe in humans. Well, I'm sorry, sir, but unless you're going to get jacked in, you can't work here. So you'll have to get your neural implant. You see where this all goes? Now do you really have a choice? And the next thing you know, we're all half human, half cyborg, living in a metaverse controlled by Elon Musk and whoever's running Facebook at that time, I guess. Or Meta. I'm not so sure I like the way the future is shaping up. Just don't know. Oh, somebody's telling me to let my dog out. The dog I did let out, but somebody let the dog back in. But don't worry about the dog. Dog's well cared for. There's somebody upstairs taking care of Cosmo right now. But thanks for the concern.
Cosmo the space dog.
Yeah, Gab is best, and we'll be on Gab soon, very soon, probably within the week. So you'll be able to watch us over there, in addition to watching us on Rumble. And you mentioned this earlier, Brendan, but it's difficult to get people to migrate off YouTube and these more established social media platforms. But if you can, go over there and subscribe to us on Rumble.
Musk mania. Yeah, there is a weird kind of mania that goes around with it. It seems like the media and everybody else tries to give him more power than he actually has, I would say. They keep a lot of eyes on him.
Yes, Rumble is live. When we're on Rumble, we're on live. And then, of course, there's the replay afterward. Once the system is able to process the video, these are 3-hour-long presentations every night. So it does take a while for the rebroad replay to process and then come back online afterward. But it is live. It's live over there right now, even as we speak. Rick, opinion on CRT in Ontario schools and the timing of Bill 100?
Hard to say. The CRT bill got shot down. That's Bill 67. And then Bill 100 shortly thereafter got passed.
Yeah, CRT, though, is still present, of course, in all of our institutions, including our schools. I'm not in favor of it. I think CRT is racism. I think it's extremely dangerous. I think it's a cancer on our country. I think it has infected the minds of especially the current and upcoming generations. I'm very concerned about it. I think it's divisive, and it's going to lead to more and more problems. And Bill 100, yeah, I see that as nothing more than a provincial end run around the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It's a way for the government to strip us of our rights and permanently implement the equivalent of the Emergencies Act, but they're doing it at the provincial level. And that's why I'm so concerned about people going even to Ottawa this coming weekend. I'm not saying that people are going to get their motorcycles confiscated, but you better know that they can basically do whatever the hell they want to you when you get up there this weekend. Whatever they want. They have unlimited power now. Unlimited power. And it's wrong.
Big time. So, should we roll into the next story, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I just, I'm hopeful that we get more free speech as a result of Musk taking over Twitter. I'm not 100% convinced that that will happen, but I'm hoping that he's successful in that way, and I hope that forces the other social media platforms like YouTube, Google, Facebook to follow suit. And I think what will happen here is I think that Twitter, once Musk has control, will reach its potential. I think it will double in value because it's a free speech platform that is already established. It may actually end up slowing down the development, though, of alternative social media platforms like Gab, like Truth Social, Cloud Hub, some of these others.
Yeah. I'm not sure. But either way, for everybody else out there, enjoy watching the left squirm for the next while. It'll be worth a watch, and you could bring your popcorn. And
Yeah, and just remember that it's your money and my money and everybody's money, the public's money, tax money, largely that has made this possible for Mr. Musk. And that's why I find this whole thing sort of perplexing as well. We are living an upside down world. It's because of all, the massive public subsidies and tax breaks that his companies have been given over the years. They kept Tesla afloat, even at times when the company was facing bankruptcy and they were having extreme difficulty meeting production deadlines and delivering vehicles and had all kinds of problems. So I just, I think people need to keep that in mind. I'm not so eager to run out and say Elon Musk is our savior. Thank you, Elon Musk. Great free market capitalist entrepreneur. No, this is a product. He is a product of a corporatocracy and public-private partnerships and a lot of public money flowing into his private companies.
That's for sure. And there's going to be even more money flowing into electric vehicle sectors, and it's going to be from all governments all over the place. It's not going to stop. It's only going to keep getting worse.
Well, it's already started.
Mm-hmm. It's already started, big time.
We can talk more about that another night, and I'm sure that we will.
Oh, yeah. We always love ragging on electric cars. It's like our favorite thing. At least yours.
And Digital Taverns says his Starlink proved to be more powerful than government. Yeah, that's the interesting thing about it. The United States in particular, I think they've taken a different approach to development of space travel, satellite technology. They've been trying to commercialize it so that not everything is coming out of NASA, right? And as a result, we see Starlink as one of the products of that. And we've even seen what was the name of the company that was involved in surveillance that we were highlighting a few weeks back because of the Ukraine situation. Anyway, private companies providing satellite surveillance to government intelligence agencies like the FBI, CIA, using private satellite infrastructure in orbit. It's interesting, right? It's just, but again, it isn't really just private enterprise or the stock market driving these companies. It's again government investment, tax dollars going in to build these companies up from the ground, and to maintain them and keep them going. And we're seeing these other companies like Ford, General Motors, Chrysler, other companies too, having government money injected in them to sort of direct and force them to go in a particular direction, to produce products that government wants them to produce. The free market sort of be damned. We're doing this. This is what we're going to do. We're going to make electric cars, or we're not going to have NASA handle space travel. We're going to have SpaceX launch these satellites for these companies. So yeah, it's a different approach than what we saw, say, back in the 1960s.
Yeah, big time.
And Trump, even in his address the other night, which we ran here live, he talked about going back to the moon, putting an astronaut back on the moon, and then going to Mars, and says that we're very close to doing that. But I'm pretty sure you'll find that will also end up being a partnership between government and a company probably like SpaceX to make that happen. There will be collaborations, and you're just going to see that. You're going to see more of that.
And well, the private sector has innovated space travel far quicker than the government monopoly on it for a very long time.
Yeah. I just, for me, a free market guy and a freedom lover, I have issues with a lot of that because, again, I think that it creates a lot of opportunity for corruption. It gives the government the power to pick winners and losers. Who's going to be able to produce these products? The companies that they choose to give the money to
Yeah.
back with financing, right? And then it prevents entry into into certain sectors, or even all sectors these days, because if you don't get the government grants, you can't compete. So you can't get in. So every business ends up being, there's a predication there of for every company, for its survival, on government funding. If you don't get it, you don't get to play. There is some private ownership and there's private operation. The companies run themselves. But that is in itself, honestly, what people don't realize, that is economic fascism. That is economic fascism. So, like, I couldn't just go out and start my own car company today with private money and expect to be able to compete.
No.
Just couldn't do it. Or my own rocket company. Couldn't do it. But if everybody was doing it with private money, private investors, the stock market, if you see, then everybody's on that same level playing field. Anyway, an economic discussion that we can have in more depth on a different day.
Yep. So, what else is on the chopping block today? Or should we
let me
run
go back
for
to
a
my
30
list
second
here.
break?
We have Roger Stone has joined the Ontario Party as a political strategist. So when we come back, we will talk about that. Stay with us.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program for your mind.
And please do support us if you can. If that's in the cards for you, go to freedomreporters.com. You can make donations there. Even small donations are extremely helpful to us. It helps us turn the lights on and keep them on here on the Maverick News channel. And we are expanding out and doing some new things. We have some new projects, and we're expanding out onto other platforms. And every night between 6 and 9 p.m., we're here bringing you news, commentary, analysis, and honestly, world-class guests, as we've seen tonight and as we've seen during previous broadcasts as well, dealing with national, international, provincial, state level issues, and making sure that you continue to have a voice in this age of censorship and deplatforming. We're here fighting for freedom. This is an information war. We can't do it without you. We haven't been able to do it without you. We're here tonight because of you, and we are extremely grateful for that. We will continue to fight for freedom, freedom of speech, freedom of expression. And if you are not in a position to donate to us financially, Brendan will explain other ways that you can support us.
You can make sure you hit the like button of this video here, and that helps us defeat the algorithm. Further, if you haven't yet already, please do subscribe. It's always great to add another Maverick into the family. And if you are able to, share this with your friends and like-minded folks in your area. And last but not least, make sure you hit the bell to make sure that you receive all the notifications for our show.
And it doesn't take much to hit that like button on the YouTube channel. It just takes a second. Just click that. Really, really helps us. If you click that, as Brendan said, it helps us sort of fight the algorithm on YouTube, Google. It's important. We have, about 400 or 500 people watching right now. And that means we need about 400 or 500 people to hit the like button. But right now we have only about 100 people who have done it. If we can get everybody else to do that, it actually helps because we're dealing with political issues here, political topics. YouTube doesn't like it. So they tend to suppress our broadcasts. They really do. But when you hit the like button, it hits the automatic algorithm, and that helps bring us up in the rankings, and that helps spread our messages. I've been looking at the analytics over the last few nights, and what I've noticed is we've kind of hit we're getting some new subscribers every night, but largely it's just returning viewers that we're getting right at the moment. And we need to expand out, get more new people to watch so that we can get these messages out to a broader audience. You can help us fight the information war by just clicking the like button. That's all you have to do. You click that like button and it will tell the algorithm. The algorithm kicks in, says this is a popular video, and it gets boosted in the rankings and more people see it because it puts the video in front of more new people, which then expands the channel out. If we don't get the likes, it becomes, it's more difficult for us to expand the channel out. And it's imperative. So if you can, please just hit the like button. It's a simple thing, right? That's all there is to it. When you're watching, just make sure you hit it. And we appreciate that as much as anything else.
Heck yeah.
So, where were we at? We were going to talk about Roger Stone. Roger Stone. Let me bring up the news release here. I'll have to find it from Derek Sloan, the Ontario Party leader. This is pretty interesting. A bold move, I guess some are saying. I think it's. I can't think of anything else in Canadian politics to sort of compare to this. Maybe there's something that I'm not thinking of or I'm missing, but to bring in a guy like Roger Stone, who has been involved heavily and in a prominent way in U.S. politics on the conservative side for decades, as an advisor to a provincial party heading into a provincial election, I think it really is unprecedented. It's weird. It's a little weird too, because Stone, if you're not familiar with him, and even if you are, I think it's fair to say he again is a very eclectic character. He's a little bit larger than life. If you're not a conservative, you might hate him. Most people on the left really do. The media has tried, the international media tries to portray him as some sort of a crazy whack job. But he served with Nixon. He served with Reagan in various capacities, and was sort of a unofficial advisor to Donald Trump. He certainly had Donald Trump's ear at certain times. Mm-hmm. Wasn't always directly involved with the administration, but he was also targeted by the left, by police, faced a variety of charges, was actually convicted. They've tried to destroy him financially because of his political affiliations and his political beliefs.
And so what's his big background? So I mean, he's worked with a lot of political campaigns. Mm-hmm. He's worked under several presidents in the United States. What's his connection to Ontario, and what's his connection with the Ontario Party? That's what I'm kind of.
Well, I would say, and I sent out a message today, and mm-hmm. I may or may not get a response. I'm trying to get Roger Stone on this program, along with Derek Sloan and maybe Rick Nichols, who we've had on the program before. Rick, of course, is the current member of provincial parliament for Chatham-Kent-Leamington.
Yeah,
he's independent, having been kicked out of the Conservative Party, and is the lone voice in the Ontario legislature for the Ontario Party right now. We'd like to get all three of them on the show. So we'll see what happens. But what's his connection to Ontario politics? I would say, and forgive me, Rick, and forgive me, Derek, but it's a publicity stunt. Okay. I think largely because Roger Stone has a very high profile. He's known internationally. They're sending a message here by bringing him into the party that the Ontario party is, they're trying to I think, project an image for the people that this is the conservative, the true conservative party now, the true conservative alternative. This is the party of Trump, if you will, because Stone, of course, has been connected to Donald Trump. Roger Stone was, for just over a year, a regular contributor to InfoWars. He still appears on InfoWars from time to time, and he's a prominent figure on social media, alternative social media now, because he's been banned all kinds of places as well. But, he has a new online show called The Stone Zone. I'm aware of that. I haven't seen that. It's a new show, but he's launched that. And in the news release here from the Ontario Party, it says, Roger Stone, a man synonymous with successful conservative political campaigns in the United States, most famously Donald Trump's 2016 upset victory, has signed on to work for the Ontario Party as their senior strategic advisor. So they've given him a title. I don't even know what the laws are surrounding this kind of thing, but I think that I would think that they must have looked into this. Derek Sloan, he's pretty savvy, so I guess it's legal. Yeah. But I'm surprised in a way that this has been allowed to happen, to bring in a foreign operative like this, if you don't know, foreign operative, right, to serve in an advisory capacity. But I guess it's okay. I don't know. Anyway, they go on. Roger Stone, it says, has worked for 3 American presidents, including Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan, Donald Trump, as well as electing dozens of governors, U.S. senators, and congressmen in the United States. As a seasoned veteran of hard-nosed politics, to say the least, Roger's insights into campaign strategies designed to take back Ontario will be invaluable to our grassroots campaign going forward. So in this release, they continue and say, in a recent interview, Roger Stone said he was inspired by the Canadian truckers' convoy and shocked by the brutal authoritarianism of the Trudeau government to help the people of Ontario throw off the yoke of the Trudeau-Ford regimes. Mm-hmm. The quote continues with Stone saying, I'm absolutely thrilled that this is Derek Sloan speaking. He says he's absolutely thrilled that Roger is joining the campaign. Derek Sloan continues, we were fortunate enough to have him deliver the keynote address at our candidate convention a few weeks ago, and it really fired everybody up. I can't wait to see the amazing effect that Roger's genius will have on our campaign to take back Ontario. Led by former MP Sloan, the Ontario Party presents itself as a genuinely conservative party, defending freedom, family, and faith. They have kind of latched on to that freedom, that word freedom, right? Yeah. As we've seen other politicians doing as well. Mm. But Derek Sloan's been there from the beginning. He has been there from the beginning, using that word and, being part of the freedom fighting family, I guess, or the freedom community. Some people may not be, he may not be your cup of tea, but he's been there, so he's certainly a figure to reckon with. Doug Ford has moved the party so far to the left that it is unrecognizable to any real conservative, the news release says. Stone's speech at the Ontario Party's candidate convention addressed Doug Ford's duplicity in misrepresenting himself as a conservative. He spoke to the fact that the PC party has our label but does not have our principles, and there is nothing conservative about them. The Ontario Party is focused on accountability for the authoritarian, unconstitutional lockdowns and mandates imposed by the Ford government. A parent's first approach to education, and we're going to speak to that, I think, tomorrow night with regard to Quebec, where new legislation has been passed limiting parents' rights. We'll talk about that tomorrow night. So tune in for that because That's a very important discussion to be had, which we've not had an opportunity to address yet. And the news release wraps up here, and the protection of inalienable civil liberties for every citizen. So there you have it. Roger Stone joining the Ontario Party, an American. And I'm not sure how that sits with a lot of people, Brendan. What do you think?
I'm not sure how I feel about it. He's and I'm not sure how much pull. It's too early to tell what these parties are even going to be able to do. So it's weird to hear about. When I did some digging on Roger Stone, there's a lot of it's all surrounded by Trump derangement syndrome and things like the Department of Justice in the United States investigating him for having ties with InfoWars and Donald Trump. It's like, holy smokes. It's just the left always grabbing at thin air like they always do. It's too early to tell where the direction of these things are going, but we'll be finding out next week because the writ in Ontario is dropping next week. That means we're going to be all election all the time. Not necessarily on this channel, but the lamestream media is going to be all election all the time. So we'll get a better gauge of how things are going and what type of tactics they'll be using.
Yeah. Really weird provincial election in Ontario already. It's pretty weird. This is a little bit weird to me.
Yeah.
I have to say, I like Roger Stone. I've always liked him. Rush Limbaugh used to refer to him as a political gadfly.
Okay.
And
was that?
Yeah, he just means kind of eccentric. Okay.
Okay.
So
eccentric.
But eccentric. But yeah, I mean, he has a lot of experience, a wealth of knowledge. I think a lot of political intuition. He has political talent. And he's a polarizing figure. Doesn't compromise on his ideology. Definitely conservative.
Mm-hmm.
Unwavering. And yeah, I just think it's a very interesting development. I really would like to get Derek Sloan on here to talk about it. And I'd really like to get Roger Stone on to talk about it. So hopefully they respond to our request for an interview. I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is. It's going to add an extra element of spice in this weird stew that we have brewing here in Ontario. And goodness, it's going to be a wild couple rides. And this is a really short election, I would say, eh?
It does. Yeah, it is. It feels short anyway. It's going to be a lot shorter than people realize. We're not far off from going to the polls.
No.
So
June 2nd is the day.
Yeah.
So there's going to be 4 weeks of campaigning.
But anyway you slice it, I think it's a publicity stunt. It's a marketing tactic. I think it can be successful because it will, for the Ontario Party, send a very clear message to a very specific demographic. And yes. I think Derek Sloan is kind of I think he's done a smart thing from that perspective.
Furthermore, how much money does it cost to do something like that?
To pay him to be who the heck knows?
Yeah, that's a gamble and a half.
I don't know. I have no idea.
I'm only asking questions here. It's just coming to me now because you told me about this guy. I didn't even know who the hell he was till you mentioned it.
Really? Oh.
Yeah, I didn't know who he was. And it's very hard to find legitimate information on him because, like I said, it's all clouded with Trump derangement syndrome articles about him. And it's like, nobody wants to watch that.
He's been around for a long, long time. I think he has a tattoo of Richard Nixon.
Oh.
Maybe I can look it up.
Tattoo of Richard.
Yeah, he does on his back. That's right. Let me bring that up.
And he brags
Here it
about
is.
this. He loves it.
Yeah, I'd sort of forgotten about that. Sometimes I think I've forgotten more about politics than I know, but
Apparently not.
there it is.
Oh, goodness me, oh my. No.
Oh, yeah. But, you have to, instantly people have a negative reaction to Richard Nixon.
Yeah.
But I was just a kid when Nixon was basically forced to resign, and when Watergate was going down. I remember watching it all unfold on television. I remember watching the broadcasts with Walter Cronkite and just the whole thing. But I was really young.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I'm older and I look back, I do realize that the political BS, the media manipulation that we're witnessing today was present even then, keeping in mind, of course, that Nixon was a Republican and a lot of the same lawfare, political shenanigans, a lot of that stuff was going on with Nixon. A lot of the pressure that he, it was unprecedented in his time. He dealt with it the way that he ended up dealing with it. I think if you go back and you really look at what happened with Watergate, and you really look at it through the lens of today, overlay what we've seen in recent decades, whether it was the way media dealt with the Bush presidencies, Trump, especially Trump, right? And then I think it gives you a little bit different perspective.
Yeah.
On the way that Richard Nixon was treated as president at the time. And I think that's why, you see a guy like Roger Stone, who even today, who worked with Nixon. Mm-hmm. Nixon's by no means my favorite president, but, right? But you can see why there's still loyalty there with Stone to Nixon. If you really understand and know the broader story surrounding Watergate in more detail, not just what you were fed through CBS, ABC, Washington Post, New York Times back in the 70s.
I have a fun fact about Richard Nixon. You want to hear about it?
I didn't know that you did, but I'm all ears.
All right. So when Justin Trudeau Jr. was born, so little Justin was born, and his dad, Pierre, hosted this baby being born party, and they invited all these delegates and fancy people and stuff like that. Richard Nixon had to go, and during the Watergate scandal, a recording came out of Richard Nixon saying, we needed to go, we needed that trip like we needed a hole in the head or something like that. We're not too fond about going to the Justin Trudeau baby party thing that they thrown. Just a fun fact, I know.
Yeah, well, I know that Nixon was a Republican, a conservative, and he wasn't a fan, right, of Trudeau. No, he was not. Mm-mm.
I don't know, just worthy of pointing out, I thought.
So a lot of the politics that we see today has its roots, of course, in the politics of yesteryear and my childhood. So,
absolutely.
And here we see it rising to the surface again with Roger Stone, political gadfly, as Rush Limbaugh used to call him, joining the Ontario Party. Never would have seen that coming. I thought it was kind of cool to have Roger Stone being one of the guests speaking virtually at the Ontario Party, the Ontario Party convention a week or two ago.
Yeah.
This is sort of next level.
Yeah, it is. And who knows? Maybe it'll. Maybe it even could lead to trouble in regards to legal authorities investigating it for trumped up this or trumped up that. Who knows?
Julie Walters says Watergate was 18 BS seconds. What did Clinton do for 18 hours after the attack at Benghazi? We owe President Nixon an apology. That is exactly kind of what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about. It's like that double standard that we see today, where conservatives are held to a higher standard on everything, and Democrats and left-wing socialist, fascist liberals, they're not held accountable for anything. The media makes excuse after excuse after excuse. Even when people die, and even when we see massive corruption with Hunter Biden's laptop giving you all the evidence you need to show the connection between Joe Biden and these corrupt business activities in
The big guy.
Ukraine and China.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's nothing new. It's nothing new. And Nixon paid a super heavy price, obviously, because it cost him the presidency and his reputation. And today, he has to live with that image, that name, Tricky Dicky, and all those other negative, pejorative descriptions.
Well, I'm going to offer another side of the coin on it. Didn't Nixon say that he was going to get the United States out of Vietnam, which was a total crap show, and then he turns around and doesn't do it? Is that pretty much how that went?
Well, as I say, I'd have to go back and check, some of my history, because I was just really young when that was going on. I was a really little kid, but I remember sitting in front of the TV every night watching Walter Cronkite and CBS News talking about Watergate. And it went on and on and on. And I remember the resignation. I remember watching Nixon announce his resignation. And it's true. He said, well, actually, it wasn't true. He said, "You're not going to have me to kick around anymore," at one point in one of his speeches. But today, people are still kicking him around, and he's not even with us anymore.
Yeah.
So, but he was.
But he was the first Trudeau basher in the history of the world.
Well, maybe more important than that, he was instrumental in better relations with China, for better or for worse, right? And taking us off the gold standard and all of these things, and setting up the petrodollar. He made a lot of changes that have had a big impact on the world today. And a lot of that stuff is just, those hens are coming home to roost now. So very interesting.
But still, he's the first Justin Trudeau basher of all time. So that makes him a true maverick.
Could be. I don't know. I'm sure there were probably others that didn't like Trudeau at the time. I remember his Trudeau Sr.'s pirouette when the Queen came to visit. He was incredibly disrespectful. But anyway.
Neither here nor there. I think maybe we are ready to roll into the last story of the evening, if you are. Or is there any other comments you want to make about the Ontario First Party situation there?
No, I think that's enough said for the moment. Hopefully we can get Derek Sloan, Rick Nichols, and Roger Stone on the program with us, so we can have maybe even 15 or 20 minutes of their time to talk about this. I think it'd be pretty cool to have them on.
Yeah, absolutely.
I haven't seen any mainstream media reporting on this, and I think it deserves some attention because it's pretty cool. It's unprecedented. But let's take a very brief break. We'll be right back, and we're going to talk about this new study about the V thing and
the virus that shall not be named,
and how they're going to they're trying to make you feel really guilty if you don't do it. Still.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program for your mind.
you can support us by donating at freedomreporters.com. Get the hot links in the YouTube, Facebook, Rumble descriptions. It'll take you straight to the donation page. We need your help to fight this information war. We're right now still pretty little guys trying to get a little bit bigger to get a bigger voice, not just for us, but for you. And that's what we're here doing. We're fighting every night, fighting for free speech, freedom of expression, freedom of the media, putting it on the line in the face of mounting censorship and deplatforming. And hopefully we're making a difference. I think in some ways we have, certainly with the level of support we've seen, the escalating or the expanding subscriber base that we have. It shows that there is a need for what we're doing and a demand. And that's why we continue to do it. So we're grateful for that support and for that trust that you've put in us. And Brendan will explain the other way you can support us if you're not in a position to support us financially tonight.
You can definitely smash that like button. Make sure you hit the like button, as it helps us defeat the algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. We are always glad to have another Maverick join the family. And last but not least, hit the bell to make sure that you receive every notification for when we go on the air. With that being said, let's roll right into it. Right,
yeah, if you didn't feel guilty yet, maybe this will make you feel guilty if you haven't done the V thing in your shoulder thing. Not me, though.
I feel guilty already. I'm ready to go. All right. It says here, mixing unfauci-ouchied people, mixing with unV'd increases virus that shall not be named risk for V'd people, study finds. So before we delve into that, let's talk about how would you conduct a study like this? Would you take a bunch of V'd people and throw them into a room with a bunch of unV'd people? What are your thoughts, Rick Walker? How do you think you would conduct a study like this? How could they be so sure?
I think the point that we're going to end up coming to here is that this study isn't worth anything because it's entirely based on computer modeling and garbage in, garbage out. So they're creating a computer model. They're putting in any kind of data that they feel they want to put in there. The numbers that they put in to frame up or create a foundation for calculations. Mm-hmm. The data they're putting in, it's arbitrary. It's influenced by. They're just picking numbers out of the air, basically, and they don't even need to at this point. They don't need to because there's real data out there, real data available. But this whole thing, in my view, this study is bunk because they're just cooking up a narrative. They've probably received some funding, and the outcome was predetermined. They were going to put in whatever numbers they needed to put in to get the result that they needed. This is computer modeling with numbers just taken out of I don't know where, and I don't really care where because it's all fabricated.
And I really have to ask, maybe I'm stuck in my own echo chamber here, but does anybody actually care about this? Like anybody?
Yeah, I think some people do because there are a lot of people who are still extremely scared.
I mean, I care about it in the sense that, oh, gee, let's rag on this because it's impossible to not rag on it. This is something that is designed to scare the crap out of people and to divide a further wedge into society. We have already been here. Why do they want to drag us back? Let's look at this for a quick second here. So it says Montreal, while remaining unV'd against virus that shall not be named, is often framed as a personal choice. Those who spurn the V raise the risk of infection for those around them, a new study suggests. Look at that. You don't get a personal choice because you're going to hurt somebody.
Okay,
You're right.
So let's just stop for a second and think about how stupid that is.
That's what I'm
How
doing.
incredibly stupid is that? If you got the thing in your shoulder, Why did you do it? You did it because they told you that if you got the thing in the shoulder, you wouldn't contract the virus thing. Right? But what they're telling you here is that if you got the thing in the shoulder and you go around somebody who didn't get the thing in the shoulder, the person that didn't get the thing in the shoulder is going to make you sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you got the thing in the shoulder so that you could go out into public and be exposed if it's present and not get sick, right? In other words, the thing in the shoulder doesn't work. And they're admitting it right here. This is the stupidest, dumbest, lamest, dumbass argument ever. And they keep rolling it out. And yet somehow the public, in their stupor, can't, not our audience, obviously, but probably 80%, 60% of the people, somewhere in that range, they can't see how stupid this is. This is insane.
And this goes on to say the research published Monday, because this gets better, by the way, it gets way better. The research published Monday in the Canadian Medical Association Journal found that vaccinated, I said it, people who mix with those who are not VI'd have a significantly greater chance of being infected than those who stick with people who have received the shot. In contrast, unvaccinated people.
Okay, you know what? This is too dangerous. This is way too fucking dangerous. We have to stop talking about this. This is BS. Getting the thing in the shoulder doesn't help you. That's the bottom line. If we keep talking about it, Brendan, they're going to kick us off. It's really just that simple. Because there's no way for us to talk about this without getting into a crap load of trouble.
Well, anyway, all it says is that they use a mathematical modeling and they use all this other predictable stuff. And look, these numbers don't mean anything that they take. We know what their modeling is and that they've used all kinds of modeling in the past. It hasn't predicted anything. Not a thing.
And the reason you don't need a study like this, a bogus study like this, is because you have real world data out there to tell you exactly what's going on. You don't need this because you have actual studies. You have control groups actually built into it because you have people who haven't done the thing and you have other people who have. You have people who have had one of the things, two of the things, three of the things, four of the things, and in some cases even five of the things. So you can study all of that and then look at the results that you're getting in real world time. And you can break it down by demographic. There's all kinds. They've given the thing to over 80 to 90% of the population. So why do you need to do computer modeling? There's only one reason. That's because they need to cook the numbers to get a predetermined outcome. To convince, and when they present this in the media, because most people aren't good with numbers or statistics and are too busy to really read the details anyway, because they need to go back to work after their lunch break and they're reading this article while they sip a coffee and maybe eat a muffin or something, right? And then they go back to work. Like they're looking at the headline, they're skimming the article, and they say, oh, there was a study that says that XYZ is the truth. When in reality, it's not true at all. It's a fabricated study that was cooked up using faulty methodology. And it was done, in my view, on purpose for propaganda reasons. That's my personal opinion on that particular study. But I'm not saying don't get vaccinated. You should get 6 or 7 of them because they're great. And you should make sure that you do whatever the government tells you because they love you. They really do. Justin Trudeau, he loves you. And so does Doug Ford. If they would give you a great big bear hug, both of them. All you got to do is support the war in Ukraine and go get your shots like a good little puppy dog should.
And always support the current thing.
Because they love you.
Current thing.
Go get vaccinated. Do it often. As
Every
much as
day.
possible. Get extra ones. Okay?
Like that hero
should get
from
extra if
Germany
you
who
can.
got 90 of them.
Whatever they will allow you to get, you get as many as you possibly can. Get jacked up. Get all fueled up on that vaccine because it's super good for you. Gotta love it. And you will. You will. And there's a video out from Mark Stein right now, running down government stats, which is very telling. Not going to run it here tonight, but like I said, there's an example of how you can use real world data to get to actual valid conclusions without dealing in theory, because you can see the numbers, the actual numbers. You can go on Worldometer right now and look at the infection rate in Canada, the death rate. You can see those stats any day you want. They update it every single day on there. We've done it here on the program. That's not computer modeling. Those are government stats. And I'll say it, I've said it before, I'll say it again. If you have a medicine that is supposed to prevent a disease and you give it to 80 or 90% of those who are eligible to get it, the inevitable result has to be a reduction in infection and death. That would be what I would consider success. But if you give that medicine to 80 or 90% of the population and you see an increase in overall infection rates and at least the same level or an increase in death, then how can you call that a success? And how can you tell me that that actually works, whatever that medicine might be? The answer is it doesn't work. And it's as plain as day. You just have to look at the raw data. It's all right there. You don't even need to be a statistician. You just look at the graph and it is so clear, so obvious, so apparent that you have to be freaking brain dead to not see it when it's right in front of your eyes. But when you're bombarded with the level of propaganda that we've been subjected to over the past 2+ years, and when we continue to obviously be bombarded with it through articles and studies like the one we're illustrating for you here, no wonder people have this disconnect from reality. Even when you show them the data, they don't want to admit that they've been duped. You can't break them out of that mindset until something really tragic and horrific might happen to them.
So this Dr. David Fishman, he has a history with the Ontario Science Advisory Table, and he resigned in August of 2021, alleging that grim predictions for it that shall not be named for the fall of 2021 were being withheld, so he kind of got butthurt by that. This individual has received honorarium for advisory roles from Pfizer, AstraZeneca, and it's in his best interest to keep his buddies happy.
I've had it with these guys. They're never going to let this go.
No.
If you don't vote the right way in the upcoming provincial election, people in Ontario will be masked up, locked down, triple, quadruple, quintuple, jabbed with whatever substance they choose to inject into you. And if you don't comply, you're all going to lose your damn jobs. So wake the hell up and please make a wise choice in June. Please, Ontario, please, in the midterms in the States, same thing. Choose wisely. Choose wisely. I don't know what else to say, Brendan. There's a mental illness out there. People have been psychologically damaged. They will not let go of this. There's too much fear that has just infested people, and they're still coming at you with this stuff. There's nothing. I don't care where it was published. I don't care who conducted the study. It's obvious to me that study is not valid. That's a piece of propaganda.
Yeah,
Simple as that.
it is as simple as that. But that's why we talked about it today, because I knew you would get upset about it.
As long as CP24, which is CTV, Bell Media, as long as the Globe and Mail, CBC, all these legacy media outlets, as long as they keep on publishing that crap and supporting this narrative, we're never going to get the hell out of it. And society will continue to be divided. We're going to live in this hellhole they've created for us, this hellhole of authoritarianism.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got to stop. This
Yeah,
is
it does.
madness.
It is, and it's driving me mad too.
Because that's what this is driving at as well. It's like you shouldn't have a choice.
That's exactly what the whole thing's driving at.
That's what it's all about. If you don't get the thing, you're putting the vaccinated at risk. Really? Well, if I'm not sick, how am I putting anyone at risk? When I did get the thing, I self-isolated. I didn't spread it to anybody, but I knew I was ill. And you know who I got it from? Guaranteed. I know exactly who I got it from. And they had the thing in the shoulder.
And
I know it.
I'm the same scenario.
And everybody I know who's had the thing in the shoulder, with the exception of about 2 people, maybe 3, they've all been sick because of it. Well, not because of it. Can't say that. But they've all been sick. And they all got the thing. And they've been sick in other ways as well. Some of them were sick for over a month. Well, maybe another night, maybe tomorrow night, we'll play that video with Mark Stein, because he lays out the stats from the United Kingdom, and they're very telling.
And they had a big problem with science tabling and mathematical models too. There, huge one.
Yeah. So that's the bottom line on that. It's just more of the same BS. They're not going to let go of it, and we have to combat all this propaganda crapola coming out of mainstream media. We have to fight back against these mandates. We have to stop this discrimination that prevents people who haven't had the thing on the shoulder from getting on a plane or a train. It's medical bigotry. It's wrong. And that's my position on a lot of this stuff too. We can't give them any more ground, not one more inch. We have to just stand our ground from now on. Give them nothing they can fight with. There's nothing more to give, because at the end of the day, I'm tired of this. Well, let's have a discussion about it. Let's have a reasonable discussion. There's nothing reasonable about their position.
No, there isn't.
Not at all. Nope. You have to get the thing in the shoulder or you lose your job. Your career is down the toilet. But it's your choice. No, it's not a choice. And that's completely unreasonable. It's also unconstitutional. It's absolutely discrimination. And there is no discussion to be had about it. And yet we've allowed it to happen because too many of us, the bulk of us, the majority of us have said, well, okay, maybe we should have a reasonable discussion about it. That's not being reasonable. So no, we're not going to have a reasonable discussion anymore about any of these things. No more reasonable discussions. It's just, this is right and this is wrong. And telling somebody they can't get on a plane or they can't get on a train to travel, which is their constitutional right, which has been taken away, which is wrong, is just plain wrong. So there's no discussion to be had about it. It's pretty simple. Doing that to somebody is discrimination, and it's freaking wrong. I don't care whether it's because of the color of their skin, because of their religion, or because of their medical choice. It's discrimination, and it's damn wrong. So there's no discussion to be had. All that has to be done is we have to stand our ground, push back, fight back, and get rid of these damn things and hold our politicians and bureaucrats accountable. Simple as that. No more reasonable discussions because the discussions are not reasonable on their side. They're just plain wrong. And they're bigots and fascists. And CP24 can suck it.
I think that's a good note to leave on tonight.
Is it?
Yeah, CP24 can suck it.
CP24 can suck it. We're right up there at 9 o'clock.
Absolutely.
Does anybody want me to address the thing in Ottawa? Suck it. Yeah, suck it, CP24.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, my God.
There you go.
Oh, boy.
You are loved, Rick. People love you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I don't, but they do.
Are you kidding me? You were going like, phone me the other night on radio. I saw you, man. You wanted my number.
I already have your number, you schmuck.
Well, I think you're right, Brennan. I think we can wrap up for tonight. And if we need to address the bikers rolling thunder, whatever it is that they're going to characterize it as in Ottawa this coming weekend, we can talk about it more tomorrow night. I had my rant last night. I don't take anything back. I stand by what I said. I'll explain it more tomorrow night if people want me to. Our invitation to, what's the guy's name again? Neil. Neil, if you want to come on and have a reasonable discussion, we will certainly keep it reasonable. And we'd love to have you still on the show, and you can set me straight. So come on, Neil. Come on. Join us on the program. Let's talk about what you guys are going to be doing in Ottawa. People need to know what the risks are. They need to know what the potential rewards are. And they need to know what it's really all about. Is it about freedom? Or isn't it? And if it's not, people need to know that. Because what I read from what you said, apparently it's not about freedom. So let's find out. Come on the show. Let's hash this out and find out what people are really supposed to be putting it on the line for this weekend. Because what I'm seeing, you know what? I am going to talk about it a little bit.
Oh, geez.
And I'm not going to get deeply into this, okay? But people need to think before they act this coming weekend. And I spoke to this about a week ago, with regard to other things. People need to stop running after the next shiny thing. Think things through, assess your risk, do what's best for you and your family. Before you run up to Ottawa this coming weekend, you got to know that Bill 100 has passed into law. They just beat the shit out of protesters back in February. They beat the crap out of people. What were you thinking? You think they were just going to let you roll into downtown on your motorcycles just because you call it a rally instead of a protest? Let's face it. When you mince your words like that, when you water them down, it's a problem. Right off the bat, you've lost. Right off the bat. And now, even though we know the cops are going to be waiting for you, they're going to have roadblocks set up. They're going to have Nazi-style checkpoints. And you're still asking people to ride up there on their motorcycles this coming weekend. For what? To just lay a wreath? We had a guy on the show last night who's ready to ride his motorcycle all the way across Canada. You better make it worth his while. Because that's a lot of time, a lot of fuel, and a big commitment from a freedom fighter. And every time I see one of these damn things unfold that doesn't have teeth, every time I see people run into no man's land over the last 2 years, and I see people get charged, I see people get hurt, it makes me really, really sad and sometimes even a little bit frustrated and angry. Because a lot of it is unnecessary, because it's stupid, because people don't think things through. They don't think 2 steps ahead. The cops, the municipality up in Ottawa, they've been 10 steps ahead of you the whole way. You need to start getting smart and not do stupid things. If you think you're just going to roll in there on your bikes and roll past these checkpoints or something, think again. They're waiting for you. They may not do anything to you if you're just riding around in town, but they're looking for you. They'll be looking for you this coming weekend. And you aren't even going to have to go downtown. You're just going to have to be in the Ottawa vicinity, in the city somewhere. And if they decide to, they'll just pull your ass over and confiscate your damn motorcycle. Maybe they'll be monitoring your social media and decide that you're the troublemaker they're going to make an example of. If you're prepared for that, more power to you. If you're prepared to go to jail and make a martyr of yourself, go right ahead. I don't think it's necessary. We need to get smarter, folks, when we're fighting for freedom and stop sacrificing people. And I'm as appalled as anyone with the way that the mayor and the municipality and the police are handling this. You should have the right to go down there with your motorcycles and your cars and park and do your thing and then leave and be peaceful. But at the same time, let's be honest with people, because when I've spoken to people about this particular event from the beginning, everyone that I've spoken with about it has characterized it or talked about it in the framework of this is a protest. This is a freedom rally. This is all about fighting for freedom. And these people going are basically the same people who have been going to the freedom rallies in different cities, whether it's to the big flag down in Windsor, Ontario, or to other protests in freedom protests in Niagara Falls or wherever it is. The only difference is now it's warmer, so these guys are getting their bikes out. And a lot of these guys, I know them from participating in rallies and biker convoys, if you want to call them that, for other veterans events to pay respects to veterans in other cities, especially in Windsor, Ontario, where I know some people who've been doing that on a regular basis. And my hat goes off to them. My heart goes out to them because I respect everything that they're doing. But what I don't want to see is 1,000 bikers go up to Ottawa and get their skulls busted in or run afoul of the police, because here's the other thing that's going to happen. And this is why everybody needs to start thinking 2 and 3 steps ahead. What's going to happen, folks, when you go up there on your bikes and the media is already smearing you and casting a negative light on you and portraying you all as a bunch of white supremacist, Hells Angels criminals that the local residents are afraid of? They're already setting the narrative up. So what are they going to do when you get there? They're going to do the same damn thing that they did when the Freedom Convoy rolled into town, and they're going to lie, and they're going to fabricate new stories. And you're riding right into the trap, in my view, because you're going to go up there, and if one person does one little thing wrong, all over the media, that person gets arrested. And then they're going to have cameras set up and they're going to wait for you. And then they're going to put that on the news. And they're going to pick a big, fat white guy with a beer belly and a beard wearing a leather vest. Count on it. Because that's the cliche. Media is all about cliches and image. They're just waiting for it. And at the first opportunity, that guy, whoever it is going to be on the news, being shown being arrested and hauled off to the clink, and they're going to take his motorcycle and make an example of him. And it won't even matter if he was out there signing Valentine's cards for the cops and handing out roses. They won't care. They'll say that that was all code for some neo-Nazi bullshit. That roses represent swastikas and Valentine's cards are code for fucking, I don't know, blowing shit up or something. They'll make it up because truth doesn't matter to those a-holes. So you can't play by their rules anymore. And they've already made up new rules so that they've backed you into a corner and you've already seen it. So you need to get smart. And the first thing you need to do is never be disingenuous and don't lie. And be absolutely honest with the people that you're asking to put it on the line. Don't tell people that you're going up there for a rally that doesn't have anything to do with freedom, when in reality, everybody going up there is going because of freedom. And just laying that wreath on the cenotaph, on the tomb of the unknown soldier, the war memorial, just putting that wreath up there, that's all about freedom. And what are you honoring when you tell people that it's not for freedom? Because that's the language that was sent back to the police service when they told you that you couldn't take your motorcycles down there. So it's like, what was the reaction? It wasn't one of courage or conviction. It was kind of like a kid getting caught with the hand in the cookie jar. It was kind of like, not me. We weren't. They were like, what were you doing? Nothing. Who are you honoring when you take that stance? Is it about freedom? Because it damn well should be. And you should stand up and say it with pride. And pay the price for it. And if the price is that you can't go down there because they're preventing you from doing it, then that's on them. Because you've stood your ground. And you didn't water down your words. But the minute you did, you pissed me off. Because what the hell is the point? And why should I follow you to Ottawa this weekend if you're just going to water down your words? And when they say, what are you boys up to? And you go, nothing. Nothing. Because I know that if I get my ass thrown in jail, Neil, you're not going to have my back. Because you already showed us that. So I'm sorry. But if you're going to ask people to drive all the way across the country to your damn rally or whatever the hell you're going to call it, then make it worth their damn while. Stand your ground. There's no more ground to give. None. Not one damn inch. And if you can't go down there, then find other ways. We need to get creative and we need to get smart and we need to stop people from being hurt. We need families to stop being hurt. Every time we do these stupid things that have no teeth, and I'm not saying that honoring our veterans is stupid. What I'm saying is we need to do things that don't get people hurt and sacrifice our people. Because every time we do, we get weaker. We need to take it to them in smart ways that puts the pressure on them and takes the pressure off us. Methods and ways that I would not discuss on the air here because I wouldn't want to give away the tactics. Time to get smart. Stop sacrificing people. They're laughing at us. Look at the Premier of British Columbia who stood up and said, they're all just driving around in circles. How did he characterize? What did he say about it? He was like, you didn't even understand, he says, what it is that what it is they're fighting for. Why are they protesting? He said. The mandates are basically all gone. No, they're not. Is it for freedom or isn't it, Neil? Because if it's not, then why are people going? It damn well should be, because that's what those veterans fought and many of them died for. That's what those guys, many of them veterans themselves on those motorcycles, that's why they went and served their country. A country that's been lost and a country that we have to get back. I don't mean to be so critical of Neil in particular, but it's imperative that we point this stuff out because we've seen too much of it over the past 2 years, where people give bad legal advice to people, give bad strategy, where we've seen people run into no man's land and get shot. Economically, politically, socially.
Literally.
Literally with rubber bullets.
Tear
They're
gas
not
canisters.
they're not just going to let us go back up to Ottawa. They're just not. And you can change the language if you want. They don't give a damn. Call it whatever you want. To them, it's a threat. I'm sorry. I don't want to divide us. I want to bring us together. But you know what will divide us? Having a percentage of us thrown in the clink, having another percentage of us have our bank accounts frozen, having another percentage of us with our driver's licenses taken away, having a bunch of others have their businesses shut down by the government, having a bunch of other people kicked off social media, and the list of other punishments is almost endless under Bill 100 because you have no rights. You need to understand that too. The rights that you think you have, you don't. Not anymore. Not with Bill 100 in place. You don't even have to commit a crime, and they can pull your ass over and do whatever the hell they want. Know the risks before you head up there this weekend. More power to everyone who goes. Godspeed to every single one of you. I respect every one of you for going up there and fighting for freedom. If you're going to fight for freedom. But if you go, stand your damn ground. Don't give an inch, but also be smart and don't sacrifice yourself. That's my advice. There's no sense, in my view, and I'm seeing the comments here tonight. It's a go anyway. We're all going. Freedom. I see the comments. We haven't put them up on the screen, but a lot of people messaging in tonight saying exactly that. So they're going. But think about 2 and 3 steps ahead. Where's it all going to end up? I'm afraid for everyone going. I'm afraid for the freedom movement. I'm afraid of what the media is going to do. I'm afraid of the images that could end up on TV. Best case scenario, people go, they park their motorcycles, they walk in, they lay the wreath, and they all walk out. And that's the end of it after an hour or two. They probably won't even let you have amplification devices to give speeches or anything there, during the event. It'll be a quiet event, and hopefully nobody gets hurt. That's the best case scenario for what's going to happen this weekend. But all it will take is one person or one lie or one more person showing up with a Nazi flag or one more person showing up with Think about it. Think about it. I know. Love conquers all.
Are you tired yet, Rick?
No. Love conquers all, right? Oh, love always wins. They have guns. Love probably will win in the end. But why sacrifice people in the meantime? Get smart. Get smart. Get smart. We can talk about it more tomorrow night in a more positive light, I hope. And Neil, I love you. I know you're afraid. I'm afraid too, pal. If you want to come on and talk, we can do that. Brendan, over to you.
I am your co-host, Brendan Kennedy, with the Maverick News podcast, and I'll be looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Please be sure to make sure that you smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, and the bell for notifications. But we'll be back tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
And I'm Rick Walker, here on the Maverick News Channel. We are the Freedom Reporters. Don't do anything stupid. Stay safe. Don't get arrested. Stay lawful. Stay peaceful. In the end, love will win. I do believe that. I do. It's just in the meantime, let's keep the damage to a minimum. See you all back here tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks for joining us. Greatly appreciated. Catch everyone on the flip side.